Brew time. Who wants a warm one?
We just finished binging Cobra Kai, the YouTube premium phenomenon based on the 1984 film, Karate Kid. Yeah. Great film, classic film from the 80s that we all remember, especially guys our age. And I want to kick it off by talking about the reason that this show works, the reason that Devin and I wanted to come on and actually do an episode about Cobra Kai, not because it's just awesome, but because it's, when we figured out, we did some research on who the creators were, these are guys just like us. I mean, much richer, much more successful, but that's why this show works, because it's got guys our age that were fanboys of the show, comic writers. They did like American Pie and the Harold and Kumar movies. So that's why it works for me.
The writing was great.
The writing was great.
The writing was brilliant, in my opinion. It was well executed. This show could have been horrible, but it was awesome. Awesome in every way.
And the direction, that's your favorite thing, the direction that they decided to take it in.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, we talked about they could have done a movie out of this, but they didn't. The movie would have sucked, but they can take their time with these 30-minute episodes and give some development to the characters. It really worked well. I'm glad they went with the series because it works. It works awesome.
It does, man. And giving it more of a comedic tone than anything else.
Definitely. I was wondering, like, how, when I heard about this show, how are they going to do this? You know, what's it going to be? Is it going to be a drama series?
Oh, that would have been terrible.
It would have sucked. But it's comedy. It's great. It works fucking fantastic.
And the dramatic moments are hokey, and they're intentionally hokey. But as the show progresses, the show is really well paced. It's really, really well paced. 10 episodes, about 27, 28 minutes apiece. Man, does the tension start racking up. And it's just so much fun. Like, the show, every episode is hilarious. You learn a little bit more about somebody. There's development in the story. Something crazy happens. Every episode has something amazing. And when it gets to like its conclusion, everyone like has gone through so much with their characters.
Right. And in what seems like a short time too.
Yeah.
But it was so well done.
Yeah.
So well done.
And it feels like a film. It's shot more like a film. I mean, if you think about it, it's about a little less than 5 hour long movie. If you put the episodes together, it's probably like a 4.5 hour long movie.
And they can keep going with it too. I mean, they can go any direction they want. And based on the first season, I feel that the second season is going to be awesome. I think they're going in the right direction.
I'm super curious because we just binged this whole fucking thing, and the end of it, spoilers, if you haven't watched Cobra Kai, we're going to spoil the shit out of this, just in case you're wondering. But John frickin' the Legend Kreese shows up in the last second, chomping on a big frickin' gnarly cigar like he just got back from fighting a predator somewhere.
I was just going to say predator. Badass. Badass. Yeah, I can't wait to see what they're going to do with him. I don't know. What's he going to do? Is he going to reprise his role as like the asshole that just wants to win and fuck everybody? Fuck these. He was beating the shit out of kids at the end of the in the intro to the second movie. He was a dick.
Well,
what is his role going to be?
I think because I think the writers are so great and I trust them completely, what I think they're going to do is they're going to explore the relationship between Johnny and Kreese and actually show you how different they really are, where Johnny was still set in that mindset that Cobra Kai needs to win, but he didn't really understand why. It was a personal thing in his own mind. And now that he's got Kreese there, I think he's going to be more conflicted because he can be like, this isn't the person that I want to be. What would we do, baby, without
us? Well, and they kind of touched on that too with, when Johnny and Daniel had that sit down in the bar and they're drinking beers and they're kind of reflecting on everything. And he's like, John Kreese was like a father figure to me.
Yeah.
So that's what he knew, like
he rebelled against his actual life, his family life. That is what is so great about this show. It's like, did I ever think I cared ever in my life about finding out Johnny Lawrence's the bully from Karate Kid? Did I ever think I would care to see his backstory?
Right.
But it's fascinating. It's because it's so well written.
It's great, and it's really awesome to see his take on the past, how everything was in
Yeah,
his
when you
eyes.
see it through his eyes, it's like
Like,
it
that
doesn't
makes sense.
it doesn't flat out make Daniel the villain. It makes them both human
It's
beings.
a different side.
Yeah,
it's a different. Because there's always two sides to a story.
Exactly.
And we only got one side in the movie, in the original Karate Kid movie.
Yeah.
Just one side. But we got to hear Johnny's side of the story in this series, and it's fucking awesome.
And that's why, dare I say, and people are going to hate me for this, I think the show is better than the original film. That's ludicrous to say. Here's why. Because the original film, the era it was made, everything was black and white. There was good people, there was bad people. There was no in between. There was no conflicting ideologies, misunderstandings, people misrepresenting themselves. It was just, you're evil and I'm good. The show, no one is perfect. There's people, the people that are focused on as being good in one episode are not doing great things in the next one, and vice versa. It's real human beings, and like, it's not like Cobra Kai is evil, because now you get this whole insight of like, Johnny Lawrence is just trying to do something. You know, he's just trying to do something, and he only knows that way of doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what he was taught.
Yeah, that's what he was taught.
Right.
I'm just saying, like, you have so much more time. It's unfair. It's unfair. You can't say it's better than a movie because you have so much more time to flesh things out. But it does reflect on how times are nowadays, and we'll get into what I hate about that. Millennials and all that kind of shit. But the fact that it does let you breathe and get introduced to characters, and those characters have flaws, and those characters are assholes sometimes because they're selfish, but then they also want good things. Like, that is the way that you tell a story, not just evil versus good, which doesn't exist.
Right.
So
It's never black and white,
No.
cut and dry like that.
other than Nazi Germany, it's never just been that easily.
So the opening of this show was brilliant. It was awesome in my opinion. I love that we get to see Johnny Lawrence. The show opens up with him being a piece of shit loser right off the bat.
Like Bad Santa.
It's like he was auditioning for the role of Willie in Bad Santa. He's drinking nasty warm Coors Banquet when he wakes up. He's got Doritos in his fucking bed. He's eating fried bologna with some like nasty Del Monte 99-cent store frickin' salsa. His life sucks. It sucks. And it's funny because it's like, because he didn't win the tournament 34 years later, he's still fucking busted up about it. He's still upset about it. Like, that was
montages where he's in his car.
that was the
just
pinnacle of his
drinking,
life. Yeah.
and he's just flashbacking on the
With
tournament.
the 80s music and his fucking what is that? A Trans Am he's
Yeah,
driving in, or
Pontiac
or
Firebird.
Yeah,
Firebird,
Firebird.
yeah.
Yeah. The paint's all fucked up. they open the show with showing how fucked his life is, and it's all as a result because of
This
he
tournament.
did not win the tournament
The
34 years
crane
ago.
kick ruined his life. And Billy Zabka, William Zabka, whatever he's going by, is so good.
Quiet! 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 Quiet!
He's the best part of the show.
By far. in
Like,
my
I mean, Ralph Macchio is great. He does his thing. We'll get into him too a little bit. I like how they just completely like rearranged his character.
Well,
but-
the movie was the original Karate Kid movie was about Daniel. It was his story.
Yeah.
But this show, this is Johnny's story now. Really, I mean,
Well, and just I don't remember I don't remember anything when I was 18 that would have affected anywhere I am nowadays. Like,
very good point.
Yeah, or
Very good
16
point.
or however old they weren't age appropriate for the movie.
I don't even
They were
remember
all
that
in their
shit.
20s playing 15, 16-year-old kids.
LaRusso.
So yeah, speaking of someone who doesn't age at all in voice or appearance, like Ralph Macchio still looks and
Still looks like a
sounds
little
like a
fucking
fucking
kid.
kid, dude.
An
And
out of
he's-
shape, skinny, fat kid.
Yeah, and he's good in the show. I don't like him as much, and that's mostly because of how he's written. He's pompous. He's egotistical. He always thinks he's right. But again, that's great. And he actually, when I watched it, I don't know about you. Tell me what you think of this. When I finally started watching the show today, as we binged it, I'm like, maybe this is real. I think I said it to you. This is how Daniel would actually turn out to be. Because he was kind of a pompous smartass anyway. He was just a doofus.
Very good point.
Yeah, and
Yes.
so
No,
I could see
I
if he got a little bit of success, he'd kind of turn into an asshole.
I could definitely see that.
So I think that's why they went with him being an asshole, because
Right.
it makes sense.
I never really thought about it, and that's one of the things. It's a great point.
And there is a missing element to the show. Obviously, you're not going to have Pat Morita. The guy's been fucking dead for almost 2 decades. Yeah,
Can't
but-
bring him back.
But I do like the tiny things they do to honor him and stuff like that, and they don't do anything stupid. They don't write about the character of anything that you didn't see on screen, which I think is very respectful. Yeah. They didn't try to write some lore about him and he did blah blah blah. They don't make mention of anything he did after the movies.
And that's one of the things I wanted to touch on was the subtleties of the show.
Yeah,
because for people like us that grew up with this show. With the movie, we loved it. It's a classic for us.
Remember what Miyagi said?
Karate, come from heart.
I will show no mercy.
It is.
So when it came back, we're hearing that this show was coming back, I was super excited. But I was also concerned about what are they going to do with this show. But the nostalgic, the throwbacks and everything, it worked. So they did it in a very subtle way to where it's nostalgic. It's still current, though, too. They have the kids and that whole part of the show.
Yeah.
So they target a new audience, but they also target the older audience, or people like us. So, I mean, they really could have fucked it up if they just threw a bunch of
You mean if they relied on nostalgia?
Yes,
like so many of these reboots do.
Yes, but they didn't do that.
No,
they gave us some things here and there. It worked perfectly. I mean,
but they didn't give us anything nostalgic that wasn't part of the story.
Not really. No,
that's what I'm saying. Like you're right. Like it was all subtle nostalgia because it wasn't like, hey, we just drove past the place where Daniel and Allie went on a date.
Right.
It's only there to service the story.
When they go to golf and stuff on the date.
It makes sense. They live in the same town. That place is still there.
It's still there.
Yeah.
They still go to the Encino Oaks Country Club. That's still there where Daniel spilled the spaghetti all over himself.
And that's so subtle. I didn't even know it was that place until you told me.
It's awesome. Or just things like when Miguel is wiping the windows. Johnny's got him cleaning the dojo, and he's like, "Do you want me doing this a certain way?" He's like, "I don't give a shit."
Yeah, no, that was the line they used in the trailers. I was like, this show is going to be really funny. The writers are like, this is for us, but it's also for them, and that's why they focus on two completely separate lines of maturity. Like they have the adults doing their thing, which is why you don't really see like Johnny and Daniel get into it, because it might be kind of goofy to see these two old guys fighting.
Right.
And then you see the kids storyline, and like it's very different than the Karate Kid. Like the Miguel kid is kind of a tragic kind of storyline, at least right now. I mean, he still has room for redemption. None of the drama in this show has high stakes. It's just karate dojos fighting against each other. It's not life and death shit. So that's why they knew to like not make it very serious and stuff. But I do want to talk about the Miguel character because I think he acts as a Daniel LaRusso for I want to say episodes 1 through maybe 7, and then he becomes sort of Johnny Lawrence, but even a little bit gnarlier than that, because he loses all consciousness pretty much at the end.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, based on what we know now too, that Johnny like was, you know, the whole thing with he and Allie when LaRusso first came to Reseda or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
And they had been like split up kind of, and he moved in on Johnny's girl. Well, now you've got Johnny's son who's coming in and trying to move in on LaRusso's daughter, Miguel's girlfriend. You've got this whole thing that's kind of coming around full circle again.
Yeah, all these parallel like things that we know, but they're still kind of fresh though, because Karate Kid 2 and 3, they are what they are. I really like 2. I think 3 is terrible. Going back to 1, there's a lot of misunderstandings that cause a lot of rifts. This show is all about like one of the best scenes in all 10 episodes is when Daniel and Johnny get drunk at that bar and they talk shit out. I didn't realize that your dad was a piece of shit. I just thought you were a rich asshole. And like, well, no, you just don't assume so much. And then when they talk about Allie and like the fact that she kind of like caused their rift to begin with because she didn't tell either one of them what was really going on.
Always a woman.
But just that one scene explains so much that could have kept everything from happening. But then there's all these little things, misunderstandings that cause people to explode, and that's good writing right there, because it's not so simple. It's not cut and dry. It's like, oh shit, sorry, this just pissed you off. I didn't mean to do that. I didn't know this. Like,
just like they did with Miguel and LaRusso's daughter. I don't remember her name, but when she shows up to that party with Johnny Lawrence's kid. And where she's got a blanket, she's walking down with him, and he's like, "What the fuck?"
The kid from Airborne.
Don't know what I want to be when I grow up? Don't care. Just as long as I live near the beach and don't have to wear a tie. Then I'll be styling.
Fucking Mitchell Guzin.
Well, the kids, as much as I do like the storyline, like I love that the show tells you, and it tells you through Johnny's character. Johnny's character is a bottleneck effect of Johnny's character is a swift crane kick to this pussy generation society's nutsack, because he exists for everything that he is living. It's like he's a caveman who woke up in 2018 and doesn't understand millennials. And he doesn't understand how everyone's offended by everything that anyone says.
Right? Doesn't know what Facebook is.
And I love that. And that's how the writers are like people like us, because as much, you can be a respectful human being but still say offensive things and not expect to be crucified for them, And Johnny is he is a product of that. Like his character, seriously, when he wakes up, it's almost metaphorical. When he wakes up in the opening shot of the first episode, it's like he's waking up right after the last movie. And
right.
And that's another Bad Santa thing. He's beats the shit out of some kids.
He's doing everything that Willie did in Bad Santa.
Pretty much.
He's eating fried bologna. He's drinking warm, nasty beer.
They should have just had him taking a shit.
Scumbag loser.
Taking a shit in somebody's
He's
bathroom
beating up
while eating a
kids.
chicken
It's
turkey
great.
drumstick.
His life sucks. He's a shithead loser. It's awesome. I fucking love that first episode. Was just fucking amazing. But one of the other things that I like too is original characters. And so far we've only really got Daniel and Johnny Lawrence. But we've got references to old characters. At the end of the first season, we got John Kreese coming back, which is really thrilling. I can't wait to fucking see what they do with that guy. I'm really excited for that. I cannot fucking wait. But they even have Dan LaRusso's mom, Lucille. She comes back.
She was kind of annoying.
And it's kind of annoying.
I was
Like, I don't
excited
give a
to
fuck.
see her. I was kind of excited to see her.
Again, that was one of those subtle nostalgic things they threw in. Like, we don't need
she
to
had
see
no
her.
purpose.
No, exactly. No purpose. But it was still cool. That,
It
it was
was.
still cool to see they got Lucille back.
Yeah, for sure.
And what I'm really hoping for in second season is that they bring Allie back. Because what the fuck is she doing these days?
They have to. Ali Sheedy. What's her fucking name? Elizabeth Shue.
Elizabeth Shue.
There is just literally no reason why you shouldn't come back and
You're not doing anything.
Season 2,
Come
pitch. They get rid of John Kreese for whatever reason. 2 episodes left. Johnny and Daniel become like best buds. They have another drinking date. Right when they become best friends, boom, she shows up. They hate each other again.
Then they could really fuck it up by bringing Kumiko back. I'd love to see that. That would be fucking awesome.
I was just gonna say it'd be funny if like there's a phone call conversation that Daniel's having with an investor in Japan and it's Sato. So they referenced
Terry Silver.
Terry Silver, the wannabe Steven Seagal looking dude from the third one. If they want to bring him back, and we're just pitching ideas now, folks. Like, here's a great idea. Like, John Kreese has gone too ambitious with Cobra Kai, liquidated. There's no money left from Johnny's check that he got, and they need money. So who do they go to?
That's good.
You can just stand there and let him kick your ass.
Where John Kreese is like, I haven't talked to this guy in years because I blew it last time when he gave me the opportunity.
Well, they were war buddies.
Yeah, they were war buddies.
Kreese and Terry Silver were war buddies.
Yeah. So that could be a way to get Terry Silver in there. If you really want to go bring in all these motherfuckers.
Do you
back.
think that would ruin it, though, potentially, if they
Possibly.
brought him back? I could see maybe they could go the wrong way with
Well,
that.
I think
Even though I'd love to see it.
because the show is so good, you stay as far away from part 3 as you can. There's no reason to remind people. It's like the way Star Wars is trying hard to make you forget about the prequels.
Yeah.
Cobra Kai has no reason to go near part 3 at all.
Probably a
John
bad
Kreese
idea.
makes sense. It's part 1, but you know.
But they referenced him in one of these episodes
No,
in season
and
1.
that's
though.
cool.
They
That's
did
fine.
reference him. That was cool enough to hear.
I don't even
but-
know if the actor's still alive. I thought Martin Cove was dead.
Yeah,
I thought the guy that played John Kreese was dead. I could have sworn that I heard he was dead.
I'm super stoked he's back, man. I can't wait to see what they do with this character. I just hope they do it well, and I'm confident they're going to do it well because what they did with season 1 was brilliant. I couldn't have loved it more.
You
Could
know
not have
who's
loved
more
it
stoked than you that Martin Cove is back? Martin Cove.
Yeah, what the fuck
has
has
he
he
been
done?
doing? But on a technical note, I even think the show is shot really well. I was telling you by like episode 5, I'm like, it's so gloomy. It's such a weird kind of like fall gloom. And it was
Yeah,
it
for
took place in
California.
the fall too, and it made sense that they stayed consistent with the.
In California, it's fucking 90 degrees. in the
Yeah,
fall.
but it's but it did have kind of like an orangey type of fall look to the cinematography, which
Yeah.
was nice. It's a beautiful, crisp looking show. Nothing spectacular because the show is a very surface level show that just deals with people and relationships, and then For the most part, that's what the show is. It's about what karate means to people, and I love it that like now people care about karate again, because you were saying like it's so cyclical how like these martial arts come in and out of like popularity.
Yeah, certain generations, like in the 70s, early 80s, when the show like came out in 84, the movie rather, karate was huge. It was huge, and for like maybe a good, I don't know, 5-10 years before that, even in the 70s before we were born, karate was huge. And then it got really big in the 80s, and you had all these movies like fucking all the Seagal movies.
Every cop was a martial artist in the 80s.
All the Van Damme movies, you know, freaking No Retreat, No Surrender. Horrible. You had, you know, The Perfect Weapon, late 90s. What was that, 89?
Perfect Weapon at 90, I think. Because it
89,
had,
90,
I got
yeah.
the power!
Yeah. One of the funny things, though, is in the whole Cobra Kai universe is that karate dojos seem to run the fucking universe.
It's like an alternate reality where like the most important things in existence are these karate. And John Kreese is at
Cobra
the end.
Kai's back.
He's like, they thought we were defeated. And it's like, I don't think anybody even
No
knew
one
Cobra
gives a
Kai was
shit.
coming. I think the show is perfect. You know, I would give it like 9.5 gulps if we were reviewing this the way we would a normal review.
Easily.
It's so entertaining. If you haven't seen it, seek it out. It's really good, especially, you know, if you're around our age, even younger. It doesn't matter.
You know, the thing that worries me, the one thing that's on my mind that could potentially fuck things up is when Johnny and Daniel actually fight. If they do. Because I'll tell you, if Daniel wins, I'll be pissed.
Yeah, well, especially because like they've shown, even in the first episode, that Johnny is better than we thought he was at fighting. Like he's kicking the shit out of like 5
And
guys.
he always was. There was never been anything threatening about Daniel LaRusso. Nothing threatening.
Well, that's why they put it in a tournament setting.
When he throws these kicks, even in his commercials, he kicks like a fucking old man, like a little bitch. There's nothing threatening about him. Nothing. Johnny would fuck him up. Fuck him up. Fuck Daniel.
Now we thought was the perfect time to do season 2 because it has just dropped on Netflix. Both season 1 and season 2 become a little bit more easily accessible to people to watch. And Netflix is gearing up for season 3 in sometime in mid 2021. So this is a good time for us to talk about season 2 because you and I enjoy season 1 so much.
Absolutely. I was really happy to do this. I missed being on the show, of course, but also I got to rewatch season 2 again because it actually had been a while. It feels like it's been out for like 2 years, but awesome. Yeah, I got to rewatch. Had a wonderful time doing it and looking forward to talking about it.
Yeah, that's the thing. We normally would have thought we missed the boat on it, but because so many people are just now seeing it, I actually just now saw it over the last weekend because it's on Netflix now and everyone has Netflix. So it's almost like it's brand new to a lot of people, and season 3 is just around the corner. I think they have half of it wrapped already. So
I originally subscribed to YouTube Red
just for this,
right away, just for this.
Yeah, that's a lot of people did. A lot of people did. Yeah, you and I, we already did a show on season 1. We loved it. It had this magic to it. I mean, the way it reinvented, kind of like how Creed reinvented Rocky, new characters, a whole new generation. A different take on it from a different perspective. It filled in gray areas, whereas the Karate Kid was a very black and white, bad guy, good guy. And this show says, no, there's gray. It was all full of gray areas, and that's what this show is pretty much about. And season 2 kind of continues that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and the first, the movie, it was all about Daniel. No one gave a shit about Johnny or any of the other characters. It was all just about Daniel. And that was, to me, it was boring as shit. I love the movie. It was boring as shit. Now we get to explore other, areas of this universe, and it's awesome. Yeah, no,
and actually, the more interesting areas that you didn't even know you wanted to see. You know, I mean, season 2, we can just get into season 2 at this point. What did you think? I loved it. I mean, I didn't know if they could top the first season, and I don't know if they topped it because the original kind of wow factor's gone. But is it though? Because they keep reintroducing people again and again and again and wowing you all over again.
Yeah, yeah. No, I wasn't. Actually didn't have real high hopes for season 2. I thought, like you thought, no, how are they going to top season 1? It was so good, but I swear, dude, the writers for this show are awesome. They've been doing a phenomenal job bringing everything together, adding new elements, and it just keeps getting better and better. I think I dare to say season 2 I liked better, actually.
I think I did too, because I just rewatched season 1 a couple days ago after season 2, and I love them both, but I think season 2 topped it a little bit. I mean, these guys that wrote it are fucking super fans, dude. Like,
oh yeah,
they bring back the kitchen sink from that movie.
Right. It's obvious that they're super fans. I mean, it seems like every time they can find a way to inject something from the original movies, they do it. Whether it's Johnny saying, "Give me 50 push-ups on your knuckles," or something just mundane like that. But every chance they get, they throw it in, and I fucking love it.
Then you need to get your ass over to Cobra Kai.
Just make sure the Cobra Kai snake comes in at the end, all right? I want it to really pop. Make it chrome. Throw Thunderstruck under it.
Even though now the story takes a little more precedent over, like, Johnny's sort of, remember when we did season 1, I said Johnny seems like a caveman who just woke up from 1984 and he doesn't know what the internet is. They still do a little bit of that in this one, but now it's more like on the story. I love it when he's like, add one of those hash brown things to your
yeah.
Like, that was great. I mean, that reminded me. I'm like, oh yeah, Johnny's kind of a moron.
Totally. Well, and I love, like, when they show him first connecting to the internet. And first he doesn't know how to do it, but then when he finally gets on, he starts looking up hot chicks, and he's looking up Iron Eagle 2 and Bloodsport and all these old 80s movies.
Yeah, he makes the Iron Eagle reference in this season. Let's talk about Billy Zabka, the Daniel Day-Lewis of 80s teen movie bullies, and let's talk about the evolution of Johnny Lawrence. Like, while we're going there, I think I'm going to have a Johnny's favorite.
Banquet. Nice.
I don't have a brown bag like
I couldn't do it, brother. I'm going with some whatever the fuck this is.
You're not hardcore enough, man. If you were here doing it at the studio, we would have these laid out all over the place like we had PBRs last time.
Oh, I'm sure. We probably would have drank all of them, too.
I'm going for it. Cheers.
Who wants a warm one?
Yeah.
Brew time.
Oh, fuck. That is just so skunky. You know what makes me so happy about this show? The resurgence of Billy Zabka. Like, that dude is all over the place right now. He's on Men's Fitness because they're talking about how good he looks for his age, and he's talking about his workout regimen. He's all over, like, the internet interviews. He was on, like, Variety cover. Like, he's fucking – I love it that my favorite 80s bully is, like, now becoming a star again in his 50s.
As he should be. He should be everywhere. That guy's he's a phenomenal actor.
Yeah, he should have never disappeared. He's really natural,
Right.
He's a good-looking guy. I think he got typecasted into that bully role, dude. And
Totally.
that
Oh, yeah. Just one of the guys.
Yeah. Just one of the guys. Fucking Back to School. All that shit. Yeah. He got screwed.
I love the way they've written him. I love getting his side of the story. There's more and more that keeps coming out, too, as we go along. Just kind of seeing his whole character arc throughout, the season 1 and season 2. It's been awesome to watch.
It's funny because, you're finding more and more about him and how much he was involved in this with the writers. He's an executive producer. He has a lot of input on Johnny's character. And I think that shows that he's kind of a brilliant guy because he's reinventing this guy that was just a black and white, stereotypical bad guy from an early 80s movie. And he's going, hey, I wonder what would happen if you deconstructed that 35 years later. And you said, actually, this was all a mistake. He's not a bad guy. Like, this happened and this happened. And when we first meet him in season 1 and he's taking a crap in that lady's bathroom and he hung her TV on the wrong wall, you're just like, you're already sucked in because you're like, wait a minute. I've never seen this take. We've never been so fortunate to see somebody from the 80s come back and you see this whole other perspective. Season 2 builds him up so that he's rarely the bad guy in season 2. He's kind of torn in with the Kreese stuff. And I love they give him the love interest this year, which, spoilers from this point on, doesn't go so well. But, man, I don't remember Miguel's mom giving me such a chubbers. Like,
really? I always thought she was an attractive woman. So, but they put her in a nice, looking dress this time, and they did her up, made her look a lot better. But yeah, she's a pretty woman.
his problems with Daniel, like his problems with his son, like his mentorship to Miguel, which he accidentally created, where Miguel looks at him like a fucking dad, and he's like, oh God, like that's the last thing I want. But that's just the way it is. That's the way Miguel is always going to think of him, you know?
Yeah, well, and that's the way that Johnny's always going to think of Miguel too, though. He's invested so much in this kid and seen him, grow so much. He's fully invested. And it's perfect because he doesn't have that with his own son,
Yeah, I know. Yeah, they don't have a good relationship at all. But yeah, Johnny and Miguel, their whole relationship was accidental because Johnny just wanted, remember, from watching season 1, he just wanted his money. He's like, give me that check every month, and you're my first student. Just make sure you pay me. And like now, like they're just, it's like Miyagi and Daniel pretty much, He's teaching him everything he knows and he loves him. And
his old ways, drinking the banquet, nasty ass beer. I love how they show him in his kitchen. He's flying front slices of bologna like Bad Santa.
He does that in this one too. Yeah, the bologna. Yeah.
I kind of think that maybe the writers are Bad Santa fans. I'd have to say because
they are the writers of Harold and Kumar, so to me it makes perfect sense. Like they're in the Hollywood film comedy industry. I'm sure they are.
Yeah.
Let's switch over to Daniel real quick. I have more to say about Daniel this season. Last season, I think when we did it, we're just like, he's kind of a douche and he's a little weird, and he's more prominent this year, but I feel like they're not concentrating as hard on his character as they are on Johnny's, because after 2 seasons, I don't really know. Well, and maybe they're doing this on purpose. He's not the good guy. He's not. Like,
no,
he leads a better life and he doesn't cause as much damage per se, at least at the beginning. But him blowing up on Johnny and knocking Johnny's door in to get his daughter, like, I know I don't have a daughter, but that seemed excessive as fuck to me. Like, he just blew up and you're like, wow, I want Johnny to win this fight.
Yeah, well, definitely. Well, shit, it was Johnny going and kicking down Daniel's door because he's got Robbie there.
No, Johnny was taking care of his daughter. And he comes in and pulls that. Yeah, that scene pissed me off. That was the most pissed off I was all season, because I'm like, this should not be happening. They've already buried the hatchet. They're buddies. And Daniel just lost his mind. And I'm like, wow, maybe
this is why I fucking hate Daniel LaRusso. This guy's a really fucking bitch, man. I hate him.
They need to get a handle on him in season 3 a little bit better, I think. Like, he's just kind of hard for me to pin down. I'm still trying to figure it out.
What really pisses me off is in the original Karate Kid movie, you had, here comes Daniel, new guy in town. He comes and fucks everything up for Johnny. Totally. He just wants to beat Johnny. Here they are in their adult life, like 30 years later, 20 years later, whatever it is, and he's doing it all over again. Johnny's just trying to better himself, make a better life. He's opening his own business. He's teaching kids. He's doing it the right way. And here comes Daniel. Oh, no, I can't let him do that. I got to go fuck that up and create Miyagi-Do and be his enemy. I hate Daniel. I fucking hate him.
Well, you know what it is? They keep, and that's why the writing is so smart, is they keep creating instances where Daniel doesn't want to get in Johnny's way. Johnny doesn't want to get in Daniel's way. But these things keep accidentally pitting them against each other. A lot in season 1 and a lot in this season. But I agree with you. And my only knock on season 2 that I miss about from season 1 is how much they referenced the first movie. In this one, they don't do it as much, except, and we got to get into this one, there's 2 real pivotal episodes on this season. One of them is just, I'll let you really get into it, but when we meet the boys, all old as fuck now, the Cobra Kai boys.
Episode 6, man.
Oh my God. I couldn't believe it. No, I hadn't read anything. I didn't know that was happening. And when that happened, and I had to go like this and go, is that, either way, they were all really great. And that was my favorite episode of the season.
That one struck a chord with me. Totally. That one hit home for several reasons, because of the pure nostalgia it was filled with. Also for the fact that we even got Rob Garrison to come back.
Right.
And knowing, that he wasn't
sick, right?
He wasn't really acting. He was really dying. He died shortly after that. He was dying in real life.
So much more heartbreaking.
Man. I was thinking about that scene where they're out camping. You know, they're all on their Harleys and shit, and they're just like they were on their dirt bikes.
And they even play the song.
Yeah, the same song. Oh yeah. But then, you know, they go out, they get in that bar fight, and then they're out camping somewhere. Johnny's sitting on that log next to Rob Garrison, next to Tommy, and they're having this discussion.
Real heart to heart.
Man, it hit me, man. And then Johnny wakes up in the morning, and Rob's gone. He's passed away.
It was a gut punch, man, and that was a really well-acted episode, well-directed episode, well-written episode, and a total shock to me that those guys were there. And the way they did it, where they put the comedy in there, it was like Wild Hogs for 1 second, where they're like the old guys and they go get in the bar fight and kick the shit out of these young guys. But what I love is that all of them, you get this from just a few lines of dialogue and some facial expressions, that when they find out he reopened Cobra Kai, they're devastated. And you could tell after that scene that opens up Karate Kid 2, where you see the aftermath of the championship, where he's like beating up Johnny and he punches one of the guys. They walk away from him at that episode and they never go back to Cobra Kai again. At least that's what it makes it seem.
Right.
Yeah, and they all became good men.
Right.
But it was really cool to get that closure on how those guys ended up, you know?
Right. Now, let me ask you a question. So, aside from Johnny Lawrence, did you have a favorite Cobra Kai member from like the original movie?
The guy that looked like fucking Kiefer Sutherland.
Dutch?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Blonde dude. That's
the blonde guy. The guy who's like lifting up his pants. He's gonna fight. He's gonna
come
fight.
on, make a move.
Yeah, that one. Come on. Yeah, that guy. Because he was just no nonsense. He wasn't laughing with the rest of the guys.
Punch or no punch, you're dead meat.
That's him.
Yeah, he was a badass. I always liked Bobby. I thought that guy was he seemed like the most badass martial arts wise out of all of them. He seemed like he could kick the most ass, even more so than Johnny. I always thought.
Well, all of them could have kicked Daniel's ass with a blindfold on for the most part, but the screenplay said otherwise.
yeah, right. Daniel's biceps look like my pinky. There's no tone, no definition. There never has been.
I hate Robbie Keane. He's the worst. I
fucking hate that kid. I want to beat him up. If I saw him now, I'd want to beat him up. He'd beat up a kid. I hate him.
Now, if there is a fatal flaw in the writing, it's if that they don't really know how much people hate him, and they actually think they're writing him as a sympathetic hero, unless they know exactly what they're doing and they're making us feel exactly how they want us to feel. If that's the case, they're geniuses. But if we're supposed to like him as the good guy, they're fucking that up. But I think they're smarter than that, because they do have him do stupid shit. And at the end of season 2, he is the outlier. He is the last person that anybody wants to talk to.
Yeah, right.
That was some hardcore shit, dude.
Yeah. He's kind of like Daniel almost. You know, he comes in and new kid and he steals the girl, and you know, there's a parallel there. I hate that kid, man. I
remember when we did our season 1, we called him the kid from Airborne. What was his fucking name? Why do they keep giving him that 1994 haircut?
Fucking Mitchell Guzin.
I'll bet you next year he comes back with a completely different hairdo because he's on the run from the law or some shit like that.
I hope so, because he looks like a penis head with that haircut he's got.
Yeah, I just hate him, and that's fine if that's the intention from the writers, but dude, he's just the worst, man.
Yeah, Miguel goes back, and you know, after the Miyagi dojo was ransacked and trashed, Robbie, you know, found out that Hawk took Miyagi's medal, his Medal of Honor or Valor, whatever it was. He takes it back.
Yeah.
Who answers the door at Sam's house? But that
punks out.
Robbie.
Totally punks out on that.
Yeah. And he had the coolness to stand there in front of Robbie, this dude who's porking his chick, and give this back. I mean, he manned up. You know, he was doing the right thing. What does Robbie do? He goes and lies, sticks in his pocket and lies about it.
Miguel is the best written of the new characters. He is an amazing character. I love Miguel. Miguel is a mixture. He's like if you transform him back to the original movie, or they made it a remake now, he goes back and forth between teetering on being like Daniel and being like Johnny so much. In every episode, he goes back like 2 or 3 times because he's got all these new abilities, but he's naturally kind of a dork. He is such a well-written character. I love Miguel.
Yeah.
And I love the guy that plays him too. He's great. Can't remember his name. He's like a 19-year-old kid. He just crushes that part because he's so like sympathetic and sweet in moments, and then he gets really abrasive and he gets kind of menacing when he gets angry and stuff.
Yeah, no, he's got the fury in him. He can unleash the beast when he wants to. Too is because Johnny was teaching him, but then Kreese comes in and he's bringing back the whole strike first, strike hard, no mercy stuff. So all those kids start adapting that. And Johnny comes back in and says no, tells Kreese to fuck off. So I can see a little bit that's partly why.
The person who, like, if you watch the very first episode of season 1 and then you watch the last episode of season 2 is unrecognizable, and that's Hawk. Like, Hawk is crazy. Like, they had some balls for like turning that like Dungeons and Dragons nerd into this real evil, sinister bully, and they even kind of bulked him up a little bit, like.
Yeah.
What do you think about that Hawk character and like his relationship with Dimitri?
It's kind of like Patrick Dempsey in Can't Buy Me Love. He becomes the cool guy. Everyone wants to hang out with him, and he's shunning all of his old friends that are dorks.
Get out of my house! But he's not like angry and scary though.
But with a bit of anger though. He's like really embracing the no mercy mantra of Cobra Kai. That guy doesn't have no mercy. He just wants to beat the shit out of everyone. I think it kind of makes me not like him.
Well, yeah, you're not supposed to like him. I think he's going to end up being the biggest tragedy of Johnny Lawrence's, because Johnny Lawrence initially said, hey, flip the script. Remember that? You're the nerd. Flip the script on everybody. And then he showed up and he had the mohawk and he tried to cover up his cleft. Is that what it is? Is that a
cleft palate? Yeah.
Is that what he has? Or is it just a scar? I don't know. Yeah. And then the path that Hawk took, which has become dangerous and almost like megalomaniacal, and like he could end up becoming someone that kills somebody. You never know. I mean, they're probably not going to go that way because the show's a little bit more lighthearted than that. But
well, they had Dimitri bring him back down to reality at that party.
Yeah, almost until he dropped the Coors Banquet on his head.
Dimitri pretty much handled him though in the hallway.
Yeah, which I felt was lame, but that's a very Daniel LaRusso moment where like he still doesn't know shit. He's the biggest weakling, and this dude's fucking Hawk's just been chopping fools up one by one, and then he just gets schooled by Dimitri. But it made sense though, because I think that's gonna maybe knock Hawk back down to reality. I don't know.
What'd be funny is if in season 3 they brought back Dimitri and they just got him on like between season 2 and 3, they got him on some insane like workout regimen and eating like 5,000 calories a day, and he comes back just yoked up. And
I don't think that actor is physically capable of that.
that really kind of leads us into the hallway fight at the end.
Oh, so cool. Well done.
Yeah, I felt like that fight scene was like 15 minutes long.
Oh, it was. It was like half the episode.
It was awesome.
It felt like they were trying to reenact the Raid. Did you ever see the Raid? Right. It's like because they were even doing the camera work where they're going from one fight to the next, and
Yeah. And they had everyone in that fight too, even those little miniature.
Dude, that was great. There was a second where I was watching that episode and going, I think someone's going to wake up and this is going to be a dream. There's no way they're going there with this show. Because every one of those people involved in that fight would not only get expelled, they'd all go to jail.
Right.
That was like, I mean, one of the guys even like hits a teacher, I think, like kicks the teacher out.
Yeah. A chick that does the morning announcements and took the mic and made this announcement. Hey, I'm going to kick your ass, bitch.
Yeah, she pulled a Jim Belushi from The Principal. Everyone get out. Yeah. They're making her like a real kind of villainous female Cobra Kai chick. Like, we haven't really had one of those before.
Right. Well, what's funny is I've read some rumors that, this could be totally not even a thing, but I've heard there's a lot of talk that she could possibly be Terry Silver's daughter.
Yeah!
How cool would that be? That would be. I think that would be a cool way to bring Terry Silver into the whole show.
Oh, absolutely! Like he's infiltrating Cobra Kai.
Terry Silver used to suck Kreese's dick. Like he would do anything for him. So he wouldn't let Kreese be on the street, living in these little halfway house type things he's staying in.
There was a total golden opportunity though when Kreese takes over Cobra Kai and says to Johnny, "I talked to the landlords; they don't like you. This place is mine." Yeah. Terry Silver, I meant, comes out of the shadows and goes, "Ah!"
Just stand there, let him kick your ass.
You can just stand there and let him kick your ass.
Whoa! Dude, if they bring him back on this show that has such a comedic edge, he has to do whoa! 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 Whoa!
Knowing these writers and the super fans they are, that will happen.
Yeah, if they go through a season of Terry Silver and he doesn't do that, I'll stop watching the show.
That end fight, though,
man.
in that high school, I you know what really pisses me off, because we brought up the fact that we can't fucking stand Robbie, is that Miguel would have beat his fucking ass, but he chose to restrain. He chose not to go the John Kreese Cobra Kai way.
And isn't that great?
No mercy.
It's a flashback of what Johnny told him to do, which was to give mercy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy. It's all.
But if he hadn't done that, he would have killed Robbie's ass.
Yeah,
would have killed his ass. And then what does Robbie do? He fucking flings his ass off the top freaking balcony.
They obviously want us to at least think that it's life-threatening for sure. Or paralysis or something, you know?
Yeah.
But isn't that interesting, though? It's like the guy being trained by Johnny shows mercy, and the guy being trained by Daniel gets this anger to do this horrible thing at the last minute when he doesn't have to. You know what's going to be funny, dude, is he's going to be paralyzed, and Daniel's going to get back from Japan, and he's going to walk into Miguel's hospital room. He's going to go. He's going to put his fucking warm hands on his legs.
Assuming that Miguel doesn't die, and he pulls through this, and he gets miraculously rehabilitated somehow within like a month. Where do you think he's going to be left? Because he's going to be tempted to go to the John Kreese way. He'd be like, look, I showed mercy and look what happened.
That's if he can even, I mean, they're going to have to write in something where he can heal quickly, like, and it wasn't as bad as they thought, because he's, if they give him an entire season of him being like incapacitated and out of the fight, I can't really picture him coming back in and doing karate again if that injury is bad. If it's not bad and they go, oh, wow, your son really lucked out. He's going to be okay. He just has like a fucking herniated disc, which is probably what they will do. I think that he'll probably go to Daniel's side, even though he shouldn't. But that's the great thing about the show is like they're always doing the wrong things at the wrong time. They're being taught the right stuff, but they're doing it wrong. It's so great the way it constantly flip-flops. And even Daniel and Johnny are always on the opposite sides of the tracks on accident, you know? Let's talk about the Mexican restaurant scene. Like Johnny finally doesn't beat around the bush. He just said, you know, and I love it. He's like, enjoy your Coors. Like Daniel's such a dick. Like he's making fun of Johnny for having a Coors, and like Johnny clearly is on a first date, but they say, oh no, let's mix the tables together. I would have been like, don't you fucking dare join us.
Yeah, right? Fuck that, man.
But they, you know, the girls go to the bathroom, and what happens? Like the guys talk, right?
Yeah, it was kind of like that bar scene in season 1 where they sit down, they're having those beers, and they're actually enjoying each other's company. They're, you know, they realize, well, fuck, that was a long time ago. Whatever, you know, you don't seem like such a bad guy. Hey, neither do you. And it becomes just kind of like a bonding moment they have. That's
when the first time in 36 years they actually get to sit together and get drunk, and they both realize that Allie was the villain, the one that that made them hate each other. She wasn't your girl anymore. He's like, well, she never told me that. And it's like right there, you're like, oh, Johnny wasn't a dick when he saw them at the beach. Yeah. He thought that was his girlfriend still.
Right? And here's this little douchebag chode fucking trying to hit on his chick.
It was similar to that scene, but because they've already known each other and they've already gone to war and faced each other in the tournament, it was more tense because you didn't know where it was going to go. And then Johnny defuses the whole thing. He's just like, you don't have to worry about Kreese. He's not who I thought he was. I hoped he could change. Like Johnny has a complete sense of common sense now.
Yeah.
Like, he knows how to talk to people when they're hot-headed. And that night went great. They danced and they got drunk. But you know, as soon as they shake hands, you're like, that's not over. Like, this is not done.
I also want to bring up is the very end where Johnny's on the beach and he's real upset about everything. Of course, he's upset about Miguel, you know, his mom, you know, doesn't want anything to do with him now. and he's on the beach. And he throws his phone. He got a friend request from somebody special. Miss Allie Mills Schwarber.
Elizabeth motherfucking Shue. Like Zabka, just the look on his face. He throws the phone and he throws the keys. That is just like, you know, his protege may be paralyzed. He lost his school. Daniel hates him like he's lost everything again.
Yep.
Like Zabka just owns that emotion in that scene. He fucking owns it. He's so good. I think that we're going to open up with maybe Johnny on the road, kind of walking around, figuring stuff out, and it's going to be juxtaposed with Daniel taking a trip back to Japan to try to figure out why he can't do what Miyagi did, why his students keep doing wrong when he trains them. That's what I think. That's how I think it's going to start.
Daniel would go back to Okinawa. I'd love to see him run into Chosen. I'd love to see Chosen super pissed still and just beat the living shit out of him.
I think that's the only little snippet of the trailer for season 3 is Chosen kind of like flipping him over his back or something. Do you see the sai go right next to Daniel's head? Like, I'm like, yeah, dude, that's got to be Chosen for sure.
I'm pretty sure it's him. It can't be Sato. Sato passed away in 95, I think. I just want to see Daniel get his ass beat. I even wanted to see that when I was like a kid. I didn't get to see that enough. He got beat up a little bit here and there, but I really want to see him get beat up now because he's a douchebag. And I want Mike Barnes to come back and because he'll kick the shit out of
Mike Barnes
Daniel.
Was such a horrible no stock character. It was just such a terrible character though. There'd be he had no emotional connection to anything. He was a hired gun. He had like 2 lines of dialogue with Daniel though.
He was an empty character for sure.
You know, it would be great for Mike Barnes because you know that actor was a soap opera star, right?
Yep.
In the 80s. How great would it be if they do reintroduce him and you see him on like a billboard or something that someone drives past and he has like given up karate and he's just a full-time soap opera actor. That would be awesome. Fucking awesome. Like he just comes in for comedic effect and he doesn't even fight anymore. And I think you're right. I think what's her Tori? Yeah. I think she's Terry Silver's kid or grandkid. I don't know how old that guy was.
It would make sense to me. She even has her hair tied back like him sometimes,
and she acts like him. She is an evil little minx.
Oh yeah, that bitch is out for some trouble. But I love the dump truck scene.
Yeah,
or the cement mixer.
The cement mixer.
I love when he calls those kids. He's like, "You pack of pathetic pussies." I was watching it and I'm taking notes and I'm like, these fucking pathetic little pussies. And then he calls them a pack of pathetic pussies. It's fucking brilliant.
You got to love Cobra Kai, though. They treat everybody the same. Man, woman, black, white, whatever. Everyone's the same.
Except boys and girls. Gender what?
Man, if they can just keep topping themselves or keep just being as good as each season was from the previous season, this might be one of my favorite shows of all fucking time.
I hear
and
you.
One of my favorite, because a lot of people are calling this an actual sequel to the movies, which it is, maybe one of the best sequels ever made because of how it changed things. It made it kind of a dark comedy at some points, but it's also tragic and it's also teen angst and coming of age story. It's all those things. And it works on every level, you know?
Yeah, all the same, the same stuff that's been in movies ever since we started watching when we were kids. It's just a different time, that's all. Probably one of my favorite characters on the show who is not having a good day right now, Mr. Miguel. I'm going to drink a shot for you.
If I had one, brother, I'd do one with you. This is the best I can do.
Whiskey.
Cheers, man.
Cheers,
to Miguel,
brother.
To Miguel, buddy. Hopefully Miguel's okay.
Rob Garrison.
Yes.
All right.
Cheers to you, buddy. It was awesome that they got him back. Great performance by him, and then he died shortly afterwards in real life.
Rob Garrison, you're the man. Thank you for being in episode 6. Much love, brother.
Much love, man.
Cobra Kai never dies.
Never died. Hey, man, it's good doing a show with you again. Miss doing these.
Hell yeah, brother.
Really do. When we were watching that Cobra Kai episode 6 with all the buddies getting together, it always makes you think about your friends and your real life friends and stuff, you know?
I'm glad you brought that up because I forgot to mention that, but I actually had that here written down. I was totally what it made me think of. All of us, we've known each other for 20-something years, man.
Yeah.
So that's part of the reason it hit home so much.
We never know if one day we're going to have to hang out with one of us sitting in a bed like that. You never know. On a dour note.
Go ahead! I had to do it.
Hey guys, how's everybody doing? Good to see everyone.
Some Cobra Kai.
I can't believe we're already on season 3 of this show. It feels like me and Devin did the binge drinking episode for season 1 like 2.5 years ago. And then season 2 and season 3 just like right one after another. Hey, everyone here is here for a reason. We love to binge watch fun shows. I think Cobra Kai is the quintessential binging show. I cannot watch one episode and then wait a day or 2 or 3 to watch a second one. I'm watching that whole thing in one day. You know, maybe I'll take a break here and there, but it's all one day.
That's what I did.
It's just written that way. It's literally written like a huge movie, right? Before we get into spoilers, let's start with Jeff. What did you think about season 3?
I liked season 3. Like you said, it was very bingeable because it's only 30 minutes long. Characters went in different directions, but very positive. You know, because some characters you really didn't like in the second season, but you kind of liked them more in the third season, which I liked.
Totally.
I enjoyed it. You know, watched it all in a day. Took one small, stop in it, but, it was good.
I binged it too. It was just that good. I thought it was definitely a better, stronger season than season 2, right? So for me, it's like 1, 3, and then 2 just a little bit. I really enjoyed how they revealed a lot of more backstory on certain characters. So to me, it showed how much more like why they're the way they are. I think it was great to really explore that because while there are no one-dimensional characters in the show, I love the fact that they still continue to expand, on the great writing that they had. I love how they had a bunch of surprise characters and location, and just the season was overall fun. And then just the note that it ended on just really just gets you excited and pumped for 4.
Yeah, kind of the same. This actually might be my favorite season. We had a lot of characters come back from the original movie from 1984, and it was awesome getting to see those people on screen and becoming part of this new story. That was one of the things that I loved the best. You had some character arcs, and characters went in different directions. Overall, very exciting season. I was glued to my seat watching it.
Yeah, I think 1 and 2, and me and Devin discussed this when we did season 2. 1 and 2 for me are tied. I love them both equally. This is my favorite season. I think it has the best storytelling. And it finally, I've said this in part 1 and part 2 of binge drinking, that it finally made Daniel someone that I give a shit about and I finally understand. The first 2 seasons, he was more of a plot device for Johnny, where now Daniel is just as big of a part of the show. And I appreciate the fact that they did what they did and kind of played with the second Karate Kid Part 2. That stuff fleshed him out to me so much better, where by the end of it, I'm like, now I like Daniel. So plus,
I hear you on that too, Ben.
Yeah,
like I thought, like especially season 1, it started to make me.
He's such a douche in season 1.
Like I'm gonna get technical. I kicked his face.
And I don't think they're going to stray away from him being that way. I just finally understand where he's coming from after this 3rd season. I kept telling Devin, what is it they're trying to do with Daniel? Like, he's just kind of comic relief, and he's counter type to what he was in the movies, and that's fun and that's funny. But what is he going to bring to the show? And I think season 3 finally did. Boom. Boom. Okay, spoiler warning for everybody from this point on. First thing I want to address, Aisha is gone.
Quiet!
So the way season 2 ended was bonkers, crazy. It almost jumped the shark. It could have gone off the rails, but the fact that it didn't, and then me and Devin were talking about all the way leading up to this, like, how are they going to address that? How do you guys think that did they do a good job, like with Miguel and with Robbie Keane, who I hate so much?
I think so. I think one of the interesting things about it is it showed like how the school handled it, which definitely seems like a very like modern 2020 day with the whole like, oh, but you can't touch now. You can't like be close. Don't be like I could totally picture that's probably what teachers are like now. And that's just not how it would have been when we were all going to school. They would have kicked our ass.
And, you know, that Mark, that's something I enjoyed about this season is that I get the feeling that, you know, with all the things they insert regarding that issue, you know, with the violence and the, you know, safe space, trigger warning, snowflake bullshit. I like to think that the writers are totally poking fun at that whole thing that we're.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, they're totally poking fun of the culture because, like, even Kreese is on like, I'm gonna melt this whole snowflake generation.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and I love that they even bring up. I can't remember who it was who says it. Who goes like, "What are we gonna footloose this whole town from karate?"
Yeah.
Oh, Daniel said it in
dancing his band or whatever.
Yeah. Or how about the guy that's like, when they were talking about changing the manholes to like person holes or something, or maintenance holes.
So, Jeff, what did you think about how we first see Johnny come back?
You know, I think he showed a lot of emotion. I think he was, you know, it was good acting. He was genuinely concerned about Miguel.
Yeah.
And very kind of pissed off. He was going in a lot of directions.
I love it that they didn't waste a lot of time with Johnny being super fucked up, and they give him that one episode where he gets drunk and gets in that fight, but then after that he's just right there at Miguel's bedside. Like, I didn't know, me and Devin were talking about, like, is Johnny going to be just like walking the earth?
Basically, I'm just gonna walk the earth.
What you mean walk the earth?
You know, like Kane in Kung Fu.
But no, they just give you that one quick glimpse, and then the show kicks right back in. And
and that made sense too. I mean, I think it picked up right where I suspected it would go. Like at the end, he's drinking on the beach, he throws his phone, he's all fucked up, and then I had a feeling that when they introduced him for this season, that he'd just be a kind of drunken bad Santa loser, like scumbag. I'm glad that Miguel came out of the coma the way he did, though, and how he got to walk again. I think you and I, Ben, were talking after season 2 that what is Daniel going to go to Okinawa and come back and
do the hand? Like I say, it's kind of like a movie. That's why it's easy to binge. It kind of has a beginning, a middle, and like an end act. And the middle act for me, the Okinawa stuff, I fucking loved it. I wasn't sure if I was going to love it. I fucking ate up that shit so much. Kumiko to me still looks like a super hot freaking Japanese MILF. Like, and Chosen was fucking great, right? Like,
Okinawa was awesome. I loved seeing those old characters brought back. Even Yuna, the girl that Daniel saved during the
that was such a great surprise.
How hot is that shit? And Chosen was cool because they tricked us with that. They made it seem like he and Daniel were picking right back up where they left off. They both hate each other. You know, of course, that didn't turn out to be the case.
When they're sitting across from each other at that table, and Chosen won't let him go get his drink. He's like,
okay.
No!
I will get to.
That's one of those great examples of this is how you do subversion well, right? Like, we all thought he was going to maybe still be that jackass from, you know, the bad guy from Karate Kid Part 2. But then I love when shows actually give a chance to say, like, look, people can change. He changed for the better. He put on a little act, but it all ended well in the end.
And it made sense why he changed. He explained it. Like, and there's hints of that at the end of Karate Kid 2. Like, Sato is going to help give him another chance and stuff like that. That was a nice redemption. And they give it to you briefly, and then you learn more stuff about Miyagi, which is cool, you know?
Yeah, well, you learned that Miyagi had these martial arts moves that he'd never taught Daniel.
Because he thought Daniel was too much of a pussy to handle him.
And he was right.
You got to be more offensive, you know? Let's get away from the Miyagi way. The Miyagi way was rated G. We got to go to PG-13 at least. I mean, the Miyagi way was like family. Let's get a little bit, gravitate towards. I just saw a meth head wash his ass in the drinking fountain. Let's go there.
Yeah, that was a great line.
You know what I mean?
But I think they did set that up, right? Because a scene that happens towards the end, Daniel went on the offensive, and we got to see that change in his style.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And it seems like every time Daniel has anything to do with the Okinawa storyline, because if you remember Karate Kid 2, that was actually a dangerous fight. It was, say what you want about the movie, it was such a better fight than any of the other movies.
Yeah, because it wasn't
they're bleeding and they're beating the fuck out of each other. That was the one time Daniel's actually like go attacking someone, and then he goes back to the fucking Pussy All Valley tournament and just kicks someone in the face. And,
goes in honking Daniel's nose.
I thought that was hilarious, and I kind of was wondering if I kind of thought it might happen before it did.
Honk.
Oh yeah, no, I saw that coming. Yeah.
But it was good to see the actor have so much fun with that part. Like, just, I've been waiting to do that forever, and he's just laughing. He's self-congratulatory about it. Did anybody else think that like Daniel totally wanted to bang Kumiko again?
You could tell that was a huge what if kind of chemistry with the two actors. Like maybe she really was still kind of like the love of his life, but that got away, because she even said like, oh, I didn't get with anyone because there was no one that fought to the death for me like you did. Like you could tell like the total chemistry was there, and you could almost see like if it wasn't for Amanda, like this probably would have been his wife, you know?
Did anybody catch that he says he hasn't seen her in 30 years? But the movie was actually 35 years ago. So it seems like maybe he got they did some like international booty calls or something for those 5 years.
I think 30 years was just like a rounding off kind of deal.
Jeff, I like to think that they had international booty calls for 5 years.
Okay. You think they did? I don't think they did. I think Daniel's a pussy. Just
Agreed.
He was rounding off. It didn't happen.
No, you're right. You're probably
Yeah. LaRusso's not hopping a plane to travel to get some gas. No way.
I just thought that whole 2-episode arc was beautiful, and I loved the Miyagi letters. That was some of like Ralph Macchio's best acting on the show so far. Just like, you know, like getting to like hear more from Miyagi that he didn't know existed. And that stuff was touching if you love the original movie, you know? So
yeah, it was a great emotional payoff. You know, it was kind of a way to bring Mr. Miyagi still into the show because, you know, unfortunately Pat is no longer with us.
Yeah.
Reprise that, right? Because
I loved the part where he's talking about how Samantha, he gets to be a grandfather. I was like,
this season was full of like old school stuff for fans of the original movie in '84. It was just packed full of nostalgia. And that's, you know, how big I am on nostalgia. So I really liked this season. I thought it was probably the best, probably my favorite.
Yeah, I think this writing team just shows like this is how you can bring a property back when you still respect like what started it all to begin with. And it's like you're continuing these characters and giving the fans what the fans want to see versus what the writing team wants the fans to see. Because sometimes, because a lot of times you get that nowadays in modern writing, and it just falls apart because it always ends up with people's personal biases, agendas, politics finds its way in there, and it just ruins everything.
Yeah, I agree. But that's one of the great things about this whole show is that it caters to several different audiences. It caters to, you know, guys like us who are fans of the original movies, but they have these younger characters, and that caters, of course, to a newer generation that maybe they haven't seen the original movie, but it's still interesting for not only that new audience, but for us too.
Quiet!
I like how she came up.
Who?
Allie.
What's her name? Come on, you know it. Elizabeth motherfucking.
Oh, you're talking about, okay.
I mean, we've been wanting her to come on the show forever, man.
Elizabeth Shue, you know, the Nick Cage movie, whatever. No, I like that. I liked how they kind of teased us with the love triangle possibly happening, which didn't happen.
I know, it's so great.
You know, which was gonna be. It would have been annoying if it did happen.
Totally.
Yeah.
You know, you almost forgot that. Okay, he just slept with Miguel's mother. He's an X-ray tech, but for a second there, I thought, was she like gonna be at the little event he went to with Elizabeth Shue? for some reason. I almost felt like she would pop up in a stupid love triangle, and it didn't happen, which was awesome.
Thank God, because I was thinking that whole time. I'm like, is he ruining this thing with Carmen? But Carmen was just out of the picture. She was not in another second of that episode.
No, exactly, and that was perfect.
Goes with my point of Daniel finally having a good character this year. Him letting go of that and letting Johnny have that. When he says, okay, I'm going to go, because first of all, he's married and his wife now knows her. But he drops himself out of that thing, and I think that was the redemption. And that was how the two finally came together at the end.
Exactly. However, one thing that I noticed was, when she described her and Daniel's breakup, Daniel described to Mr. Miyagi that it was, she just left me for some guy from UCLA, but it made Daniel seem like a stalker the way she described it.
Yeah, well, that's another revisionist history thing.
And Daniel just freaked out saying, there's something going on or whatever.
Well,
it just kind of reiterated that there's two sides to every story, and the Karate Kid was all from Daniel's point of view. And there's a whole nother point of view from everyone else in Cobra Kai.
Yeah, they added that in there, that scene where a dude yells when they're at that meeting. He's like, I thought you were the bully.
I heard you were the real bully. To get Allie's perspective was so great. And her spending all that time with Johnny first made so much sense because he knew he did something wrong, so he apologizes. But then she goes like, oh, it wasn't that bad. And you're like, okay, so the movie, like you said, Jeff, it's all from Daniel's perspective. Quiet!
I do like the fact that they made Robbie gravitate towards Kreese.
He's probably like one of the more unlikable characters.
But at the same time, he's a good guy.
Story-wise, he's like the one who gets done dirty the most lately. Poor kid's got it like really rough.
No, he does. He does.
But I want him to. He's got to be like the killer character. He's got to be Kreese's boy in season 4. No redeemability for his character.
Yeah, the kid's an asshole.
None. He's got to be complete no mercy.
I don't know if you guys noticed the soccer scene, which was a mirror of the first movie. And in Samsville, this school sucks. Remember when Dan was like, "This school sucks, man. It sucks."
Sucks, man.
I love that. I love seeing all the things like that they insert into this. And then there is also Dimitri pulls some shit, just like Daniel does in the original movie, where he uses the teacher.
Low kick, yeah.
Where he uses the teachers coming up on campus, and Johnny and all the Cobra Kai guys are there. And Daniel knows the teacher's there, so he's talking shit basically in front of these guys. Dimitri is the same thing in this season.
Quiet! So, again, we got the Vietnam juxtaposed with everything that's happening on the show, and they bring it up in every episode. So now, Jeff, talk about that little piece of misdirection that we were talking about in the Vietnam stuff.
The guy you thought was Terry Silver was the guy with the ponytail, because he had like 2 guys with him. One guy had a ponytail, one guy didn't. And they went on this secret mission with their commanding officer, and the guy with the ponytail got blown up.
So that wasn't Terry Silver, apparently.
However, they all got captured, and they all had to go to this, they all had a battle in this, like, kind of thing. And when they battled,
that snake pit was ridiculous.
It was like Cobra. It was like cobras, a bunch of snakes.
Yeah, which was hilarious. But so is that kind of like the foundation of Cobra Kai right there? The fact that there was cobras.
Guessing.
That's what they alluded to.
Yeah, so that makes sense. So if you really think about it, like John Kreese has the rights to the Cobra Kai name. He's the one that created it in the first place. So why did Johnny think he can just steal that fucking name?
Because as we all know, he's not real creative.
Good point. Exactly.
I say this every time me and Devin do a binge drinking on Cobra Kai. I hate Robbie Keane. And let me, and I brought up his name and I just let everybody kind of free for all on him. But let me tell you why I hate this character. And Devin, even more so, because every season we hate him for a different reason. This season, I hate him because okay, so he plays this victim, and like apparently he stole a car, and then he's mad at the owner of the car, Daniel, for calling the cops. He's like, how dare you? Like, he's such a bitch. Like, I mean, they always try to make him like, I'm tough and like my life is crap.
I'm gonna
like,
debate
dude,
this character.
I'm sorry, but you made your fucking bed in every one of these instances that you fuck up on, and then you knock this guy off the fucking railing, and you don't care. Like, I don't know, Robbie Keane.
Yeah, nothing. No, he's an entitled little piece of shit. I don't know where that fool gets off.
And I love it when they show his. I didn't even recognize his mom when they show his mom at the like the
yeah, right.
like the yoga rehab center. I'm like, who the hell is that chick?
It took me a few seconds to get that too. I was like, oh.
I love that episode though, where like Johnny and Daniel go on like their little adventure to try to track him down, and they play "Kickstart My Heart."
Their Tango and Cash.
Yeah, the Tango and Cash thing was hilarious.
Quiet! I love Johnny, heart and soul of the show. Him and Miguel should like always be kind of front and center. There was a little bit less of them this season because I think we also got to focus more on Daniel. But maybe this time the trade-off was worth it because, we got to see more growth on his part, and it also made Daniel more likable. Because the previous seasons, also a good job of making me not like him, because it's like, previous protagonist sometimes feels like an antagonist, things like that. Oh, and one thing I'm glad the writing team did this season that they weren't constantly doing the previous seasons, whereas there was always like this, they always kind of reverted to this go-to of manufacturing drama with characters just not communicating. There was too many scenes that happened just because people wouldn't talk to each other enough.
That's why all the conflict happened. It was always misunderstandings and stuff.
Yeah, but they relied on it, I think, a little too much. Like, it started to become like a little too obvious, too exhausting. Like, once you start like picking up on it, and I'm glad there was a lot less of that here. It was just letting the characters be characters and just driving the story forward. I love how so many characters had great character arcs, from Daniel to Johnny. I love that they didn't do any love triangle crap with Ali. She actually brought the two guys together, because I love how she said like, hey, you two see each other in you, and that's what drives you nuts sometimes too. You're more alike than you think.
That's good writing right there. That's good writing. That's like, let's take her, who everyone thinks is going to make them in another, and me and Devin said this last year, Allie's going to show up after Daniel and Johnny become friends, and she's going to break them up. The opposite happened.
Yeah.
The opposite happened. She got them together.
Yeah, especially because it let us have that amazing ending shot where it's like the two rivals will now become two senseis to these kids, right? And I'm sure there's still going to be bumps along the way, because these two are always still going to have their moments.
Yeah.
But the fact that their growth of coming together, which also with the kids, I love Hawk's arc this season.
So good.
I love how they planted those little bits where he kept having these doubts, and the doubt kept getting bigger and bigger, and then finally came back for his former best friend, and seeing that, hey, I'm now becoming the bully, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't want to be
realizing
that guy.
The people he's associating with are the people that were fucking him up.
Yep.
So he's like, what am I doing?
Mark touched on what I like too about Hawk and his arc there with everything. That was a great scene. But I loved, as I've mentioned many times before, every time I'm on one of these fucking things, I'm all about nostalgia. So I loved seeing all the parallels from the movie, the original movie, with the love scene, Kumiko and Yuna. Ooh, and Chosen coming back, and the way they use those characters and it played out. I really enjoyed watching all of that. I always dig that. I love seeing Dimitri using the teacher to fuck with the bullies, and because he knew he was safe with the teacher, just like Daniel did in the original movie. And there are some good character arcs also with Hawk, his change of heart, all that Mark discussed. Johnny is always my favorite point of this show. I mean, I just love what they've done with his character and getting to see him progress and grow as a character. I think it's been fantastic, and writing's been amazing. And I also really like seeing Kreese's backstory too.
Oh yeah.
We needed to see it. We needed to see it.
Yes. Yeah, finally. So we got to see why he is the way he is, and I'm still curious to see how that's going to play out in the next season, and what's going to happen with Terry Silver hopefully coming back. But this was probably, I mean, this series had comedy and everything, drama all through it, and this is probably my favorite season this season. So,
well, for me, I think it's the best season because I just think every season keeps growing on you, and it keeps growing with its characters. And like Hawk is going in directions that I'm loving. Dimitri is going in directions that I'm loving. Sam is going in directions that I'm loving. Sam started out as kind of an annoying character, and I really kind of like Sam now. They finally did it. They finally made me care about Daniel LaRusso. And this season did it by going back to Okinawa, which was fucking awesome. And I just keep rewatching those episodes because, to me, part 2 was always my favorite movie. It was always my favorite movie of the 3. I know I'm in the minority, but part 2 for me was the best Karate Kid movie. So when I get to see them go back and do that stuff, even though it was short-lived, that meant a lot to me. And I think they just fucking handled it great, like they do with everything else on this goddamn show. Home run for me, season 3, Cobra Kai, the best so far. Let's get some Terry Silver up in this motherfucker.
Ben, you know what the irony is of Johnny's character? He's obviously like anti that, but he actually has the most diverse class. Think about it. Organically, he's got the most diverse group of kids, and that's what it's all about. It has to be organic.
Keeping Johnny Lawrence in this caveman state that he's in keeps the show from being woke, and it's almost like a commentary on the society. Mm-hmm. And I love it that you have these young actors who like can play off of that. And that's the cool thing about the show too, because it's about karate and it's because it's about bullying and like classes of kids. You don't have a bunch of whiny pussies. Dimitri in the second season was kind of representing that when he's like, "Oh, my mom wants a note if I'm going to do karate." But then look what he's now. He's like kind of a badass. You know, it's like the show just fully like it's the greatest show. It's the best.
He's like some grade A ass now too.
Everybody.
Oh, dude, now he's got the chick from season 1 that was absent in season 2.
What's
her name? Like
Yasmin.
Yasmin.
Yeah, he's a total Chad now.
Dude, he's got Yasmin. Dude, he's got the hottest chick in school.
Because he's got the big dick.
Yeah.
I would say for most of us, we all love and adore Cobra Kai. Coming up on its 5th season, I'm sure it is going to delight and entertain the masses like always. But I started thinking about certain facets of the show recently. How come it made it? How on earth was this insane idea greenlit? I'm not asking the question, why does the show work? We already all know that. It's well written, it's got a great cast, it's funny, compelling, engaging, entertaining, well directed, well shot, and well stunt choreographed. There's a chemistry, a synergy, a consistency and an energy amongst the cast and crew to keep this show going at top notch, season after season, episode after episode. That's why the show works. The question I'm asking is how? Oh, how did the show ever get made in the first place? There's one determining factor to me that is more important than any other when asking this question. The one thing that could have made the show fail from the beginning. Now, going back to 2018, a 34-year-old franchise with characters we haven't seen in that amount of time, though the movie has always stayed in the cultural zeitgeist. Sorry, I got dork on the floor! So it wasn't a matter of popularity based on IP or name value. No, this was all about the two leads, Ralph Macchio and Billy Zabka, both approaching their late 50s, but looking so good for their age.
Hey, that's pretty good.
That's it, ladies and gentlemen. The number one facet that keeps this show from being a joke, dead on arrival, and actually being something popular not just amongst the fans, but amongst kids, teens, and people who never saw the original film. Your lead characters have to be likable, they have to be entertaining, they have to have chemistry with one another and with the others around them, and they also have to be pretty good looking. The most important facet of this show of Cobra Kai is that Ralph Macchio and Billy Zabka do not look old. There, I said it. That's the key factor in this show's startup and this show's success. Because let's face it, Most of the original fans of the series would probably feel pretty old ourselves and depressed watching two old men try to slug out old grievances and old grudges on an 8-episode Netflix series. And while we're being honest with ourselves, if these guys looked their age or even older, then kids would never levitate to this show, no matter how many hot-bodied youngsters you surrounded them with. Because Daniel LaRusso and Johnny Lawrence are charismatic, funny, have good chemistry together, and look much younger than they really are is how the show ever made it past episode 1. Because of their youthful appearance, you can have them married to much younger women, pursuing much younger women, and hanging out with teenagers in high school without it feeling creepy. Oh, how Hollywood good looks go a long way. If you take the John Kreese character, played by Martin Kove, and just started the show with him in place of Johnny Lawrence, it would never work. Because you can't have a grumpy old man, no matter how in shape they are, walking around teaching high school girls karate. Since Billy Zabka is so youthful and good looking, they get away with this fact, and it doesn't hurt that he's 20 years older than Carmen. This generation's appearance is much more youthful looking than our parents, and specifically our grandparents. I remember when my grandparents were Ralph Macchio's age and were eating TV dinners with their TV trays, watching Jeopardy and eating tapioca pudding for dessert. Their lives were essentially over. Just sitting around, waiting to either go golfing or go to Thrifty's to get that single scoop of butter pecan ice cream, and arguing in the Oldsmobile in the car on the way. Johnny and Daniel are still athletic, charming, smart, relevant to society, and again, good looking. It's a secret to not only the success of the show getting picked up, but for why it's been accepted by young audiences. You can look at the younger cast as that reason, but again, your two leads are crucial to this. Sure, the show's filled with these fun, young faces with good acting chops and are becoming increasingly more popular, but it all stems back to Ralph Macchio and Billy Zabka. The legend of the 1984 classic continues through them, and dare I say has just gotten more popular than the film at each approaching season. So the secret of Cobra Kai's success is our two leads.
Booyakasha! Hey guys, what do you call Anthony LaRusso?
Lapuso?
Daniel's son.
Oh, that's horrible.
Welcome back to Binge Drinking. We've got Mark and we've got Devin back for Cobra Kai Season 4. Yes, everybody, I'm going authentic this year. I've got sake I picked up at the gas station. And I've got some sushi I picked up at the local supermarket. So I'm feeling like I'm in Japan, guys. I don't know about you. Overall, quick thoughts on Cobra Kai Season 4.
This one actually, there was a lot of things happen in this season, but for me, it paled a bit in comparison to previous seasons. I loved seeing Silverback. That was just a dream come true. The guy's awesome. You love him from Karate Kid Part 3. It lacked a little bit for me this season, but still a lot of things happened. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. But I liked Season 3 much better. I will say that honestly, but still a good season, decent. Love the show. I'm excited to see where it's going, but this one lacked a little bit for me, even though Silver was back.
Overall, to me, I enjoyed it very much. I thought, for me personally, it was pretty on par with Season 3. There was just, for me, it was great to see characters continuing to develop. A lot of arcs, a lot of surprises. They had the best, I think, action choreography on the show to date.
Oh yeah.
Tournament. And it was just a lot of fun, right? Like, especially with Terry Silver coming back. That was a huge surprise, and everything that happened with that character. So for me, there was also just a lot of great humor moments, a lot of great emotional beats. So, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I agree with both of you because, Devin, I agree with you more at the beginning of the first half of the season. I'm like, who are all these new characters? There's too many new characters. They're throwing so much in. We already have so many characters whose arcs are not developed yet. So why are we getting more people? But the show proved to me once again that they balanced them out in the later half of the season for me. And I ended up liking a couple of the new, not liking some of the other new. But I don't know, man. The show just still does it for me every time. I couldn't tell you what's my favorite. Well, season 1's the best season, but I can't pick between 3 or 4 yet. But I love them all. And Devin, me and you've been talking about
hoping Terry Silver. I remember when we did our first episode of Binge Drinking in 2018 on this show for season 1, we're like, there's no way we'll ever see Terry Silver again, but how cool would that be?
Right.
And here he is, like, dominating season 4 completely. Before we get into the new characters, let's talk about the favorite characters of the season and either the character arcs. Did you like their arc or did you like their progression? Because for me, Johnny will always be the best character on the show.
There are no girls in Cobra Kai.
Why not?
Same reason there aren't women in the army. Doesn't make sense.
But a character that was introduced in season 1 that's moved on to season 4, that's my favorite, is by far Hawk.
You guys are gonna win this whole fucking thing.
And I love Hawk's arc. You can almost end Hawk now. You know, like
Hawk was fantastic. He kind of does it. He's going through this thing where, Robbie cuts his mohawk off and, they do all this shit to him. They're kind of bullying him, terrorizing him. And he gets really humbled. He doesn't know who he is or, where he's going. But he comes back from it. He figures out, who he is and gets a good grasp on himself. We know how it ends. But yeah, I really liked Hawk's character arc. The other one that I was kind of surprised about, and I didn't realize till the end, it was Robbie.
yes, because you and I were always like, I hate Robbie Keane.
I always
almost
hated that
chanted,
kid.
I hate Robbie Keane.
I always hated that kid, man. I hated his character. I just
He's a
didn't
great.
like him.
He's a good villain. He got all
Yeah,
he got all jacked and shit this season.
Yeah,
like-
he was ripped. But it was great to see in the final episode, in episode 10, where he kind of reconciles with Johnny, and the whole time though. But throughout up to that point, you've got this new kid Kenny in the picture that's getting bullied.
Yeah.
And Robbie kind of takes him under his wing and is trying to teach him the right way. And I think Robbie actually was really trying to do the right thing, but he's under the tutelage of these major assholes who just want to fuck kids' lives up for some reason.
I think when you think about it, his lack of experience and just finding out how difficult it really is sometimes to mentor someone, it was great to see like how that was a foil to him in the end. It was just like he realized, I think he could relate to his dad more at the end because of that.
Right, because he's a kid. He doesn't know anything about life.
Mm-hmm.
He has no idea. But
No.
I was surprised though. At the end, I was like, I like Robbie now. All right,
I'm 100% with you, man. And that was a great little piece of acting he did when he met back up with Johnny. Like that was a touching little scene.
Yeah.
So we go from, airborne looking hairdo. It also helped that he changed his fucking hairdo and I took it more seriously.
Right. I couldn't handle the Mitchell Guzin look.
Something a little more modern. But I do want to give a mention that Tori, surprised me too this season.
Yeah.
And, I was rooting for her, and I liked to see the fact that we might see more of a redemption and her character growing. And I like where the season took her because, before, like in season 3, there was definitely times where she was kind of insufferable. Maybe not as much as like say Sam, right? To me, I started really rooting for the character, and Peyton does a great job in her acting and the action and everything. So I was just, I'm definitely looking forward to like where her story goes to next season.
Peyton is definitely one of the most like realistic, natural actors on the show where like you really feel that she's down in the dumps and she's kind of a pain in the ass because she has to be.
Yeah, it definitely comes across as believable, right? Because when you learn what her character is going through, keeps going through, and then the situations she finds herself in, like, yeah, to me, it was completely believable when she portrayed it.
So while we're talking about characters, we got to have a discussion about Terry fucking Silver because maybe season 4 is not the best season ever to some people, but his introduction I love that he wasn't just sitting there waiting for Kreese to call him. He had moved on. That arc is so great that he's kind of become a different guy. And I love that the writers were good enough to say like, to give him the lines where he's like, dude, I was so hopped up on coke in the 80s.
Terrorizing a high school.
He's like, I was terrorizing a teenager.
I love how the fact that he plays the piano. I don't know if that was a thing in the original movie, but because they use that piano crescendo a lot with certain key moments of his, like in the background music. But I love the fact. I love the opening scene where he's playing the piano. Kreese calls and he's just like, yeah.
Yeah. Because you didn't
believe
think that was going to happen.
Music they used in part 3 in his band.
That's what it was. I don't know if he played the piano, but they kept playing that wonderful theme song of Terry Kreese.
Same exact song, yeah.
and when he ends up like getting the one up on Kreese at the end, and he's dancing around,
and he's dancing to it like
fully throws you
the
into
in his head, and he's all
that's the Silver fucking. That's the Terry Silver anthem from Karate Kid 3 right there.
Yeah, in the beginning, I was kind of worried that his character was just going to be short-lived and it wasn't really going to go anywhere. And then, but at the end, holy shit, was I wrong? You know?
Oh, dude, the show's he's now holding up the show pretty much. Like, it's on his shoulders. I mean, because we'll get into it later what we think season 5 is going to be and stuff like that. But he came in and just wrecked shop. That actor just came in and wrecked shop. Like, he just fell right back into that guy after they gave us a few episodes of him trying to figure out, does he want to go back into that or not? Right. And, you know, a lot of the flashbacks don't make sense because you're like, these guys are kids, and there's certain things that don't make total sense. Like, why is Terry Silver so good at karate where he's way better than John Kreese? But when you see the flashback where he's like, well, my dad wants me to go get a job, you run the dojo. It's like, well, wait a minute. Why is Silver better than Kreese? If Silver
and he was a pussy back then. He was like scared when they were. Yeah,
you don't see when he becomes a good karate guy because he's very good and he's pretty much the best fighter on the show. I for a while there I was nervous that like we had this Kenny guy, and I'll say right out that my least favorite new character is Lapusso. I just don't give a shit about. They waited too long to introduce Daniel's son. I mean, they did as a little fat kid earlier, but now he's like grown up, and I just don't care.
They sat on that character for so long before really.
Yeah, they sat on it, but now they made it too prominent, I guess. If we're talking about progression of characters and arcs, Daniel has none. He's just a douche. He doesn't listen to anybody. He's not changing at all. He's a complete asshole. He's totally set in his way. Johnny's always changing, always learning new things. He's way more open-minded. So my favorite subplot is, once again, Johnny and Miguel and how that's all turned upside down. How do I tell my student I'm banging his mom?
Yeah, that moment I laughed way harder than I should have. That was actually one of my humor highlights. When you typing that in there. I laughed so hard, and then of course he hit enter on accident and the result.
I love how they do that every season with Johnny. Like he's like some kind of caveman.
He doesn't know how to use the internet. Yeah.
Dude, what's an Uber?
He gets jealous of Miguel hanging out with Daniel, but then he kind of builds it back up. But then he gets really drunk because Silver kicks his ass, and then he accidentally drops the Robbie word at the end of "I love you," and that was
so heartbreaking. And I have to give it to, I think, Zolo. Is the actor's name? He so sold that scene, dude. Like I so felt it, like right here.
Well, because he started out from tears of joy saying "I love you," and then his facial expressions completely changed.
Like his eyes changed, his face changed. Like I was just like, "Oh, Johnny, you have no idea what you just did."
I would say my favorite new character, because I said my least favorite. My favorite is probably Devin Lee. I like the chick Devin Lee. She's funny. I love it that they give her a good introduction with Dirty Deeds from AC/DC to really let you know that she wants to fuck people up. And she had one of the best lines in the show where she lost her match and she said, "I'm going to be fucking up these soft ass bitches next year," or whatever. I was like, okay, I'm on board. Yep. It's not a woke character. It's just a character with a motive, you know?
But I love how they played off of her and of course Johnny as our usual favorite, where she's like, you know, when she first comes to the Eagle Fang, my pronouns are her or she, her, and Johnny's like, the only pronouns here are student and sensei.
I think what I meant to say.
It's quiet. And she became a great martial artist within 6 weeks.
Yes.
Don't they all on this show, Devin?
When Johnny and Daniel spent the day like learning each other's style and philosophies, that I really enjoyed watching. Where, you know, you had Johnny coming to the dojo trying to learn defense, trying to learn like balance and centering himself, the more like the philosophy and like mental, you know, side of practicing martial arts. And then, of course, in return, I love how he took Daniel and tried to just kind of give him like that sort of like masculine, like man moment, like, you know, lift all this stuff, climb this rope, get your ass across these hot coals, you know, and you actually saw Daniel loving it. And then, of course, when they went to the hockey game and he's like, you know, messing with the dudes and trying to get Daniel in trouble and force that brawl.
I'm sorry, Daniel's not kicking all those hockey dudes' asses. I'm sorry.
Right? Yeah. Johnny had disappeared to get a pretzel, and I love how he turned back one of the lessons from earlier. He's like, "Where the hell were you?" "No, be there."
Yeah, and I love that line too. Like Miyagi used to say, "No, be there." He's like, "This guy taught you hundreds of generations of karate, and you couldn't help him with his English."
Silver was kind of a pussy when he came back, you know?
Well, that was the point. Yeah, he was trying
I know that now. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's a longer arc because from what I understand, they shot season 4 and 5 back to back. So 5 is already shot. And I think it had to do with this big Silver arc where the reason it took season 4 so long to develop Silver, because, you know, he's a vegan, he's got this girlfriend and quiet. And then even when he goes to Cobra Kai, he's still like, well, we got to teach him a better way, not the way we used to do it. And it's not until really the end where he becomes full Silver, because I think season 5 is him taking over the valley completely.
Yeah.
And being really, you know, the guy. So I think maybe that's why they developed it so slowly.
When they first introduced him, I was like, this isn't Terry Silver. The fuck is this? You know? I wanted asa.
Whoa!
Whoa! Yeah. I can tell you the subplot that I disliked the most, and that was with the new character Kenny. That kid was just annoying to me the whole time. Him and Anthony, like, I don't care. I just don't care.
It got a little more interesting as it went on, because he turned so evil and once again he became a badass really fast.
It make you hate him, yeah.
But I'm with you, like, God, when episode 2 started, I'm like, well, who the fuck is this now? Like, and they're like, they're doing this montage of him getting ready for school. And then they're like, he's the brother of the guy we saw for 5 seconds in season 3.
Yeah.
That I thought Robbie hated that guy. Didn't they beat the fuck out of each other in juvie? And then they never saw.
But I think they ended up having kind of like a mutual respect.
Did they?
And
I went back and looked.
I think they stopped messing with Robbie like after that.
I guess, but I would have told his brother to go fuck himself.
I do appreciate that they at least showed kind of like what some kids go through nowadays with like the cyberbullying and the catfishing, especially.
That's true. It was sad. It was kind of sad. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and I could see how that could turn someone who, like, you know, when we first see Kenny, he seems like he's super nice, just this really chill, friendly, outgoing guy. And then, you know, you get a bad case of bullying and it just turns him into a completely different person.
He turned to the dark side is what happened.
That dumbest scene of the season is when he takes the kids into, for some reason, an abandoned library that no one's at in the middle of the school day. And like, it's a horror scene where he somehow like takes them out one at a time. That's ridiculous. But that's the scene where he finally realizes, oh, I can be a bully. I can bully this LaRusso fucking douche, you know, or whatever.
Yeah, which he threatens with him at the end, right? Like he's
like, I'm gonna fuck your world up
to do that.
Yeah. I did feel bad. I did feel for Anthony LaRusso though. At the end, you know, he's trying to make amends and tell him, hey man, I'm sorry. You know what I did was wrong. And the kid's just like, fuck you. I'm gonna kick your ass.
Yeah, like,
oh, you know, I felt
you push someone too far, and look what happens.
Well, I feel for Anthony too, because just like us as viewers who have paid no attention to Anthony, neither of his parents. The reason he's a fucking bully is because Daniel doesn't give two shits about him. We never even see him. He like in season 2, he's like, you're going to fucking summer camp. In season 1, he's like, Anthony, shut up. It's like he doesn't give a shit about his son. So of course his son's gonna go astray and not know what to do. He has this stigma attached because people are like, you're a LaRusso, like you're the car guy's son, so you got to know karate. Remember there's that scene where they think he knows karate and he's like, oh shit. So in a way he's a bully because he doesn't know what else to do.
I think it's because he didn't want to like upset the little tribe that he's in, because I mean
those little kids should be the nerds.
Shit. Yeah,
I don't know why those kids are the bully. There's a bit that curly haired little fucker.
It goes to show you how the littlest little piece of scrawny shit is always the one that starts all the crap, because he's got like a whole pack behind him.
I love what they're doing with Dimitri. That guy's growing so much that it's hard to make him like a nerd anymore.
Right. Yeah. Because
he's the biggest fucking dude in the dojo. Like, and it's kind of funny that for some reason, they don't like this actress, so they barely ever put her on the show. But the Yasmin chick, she's only in like one episode a season for some reason, and I don't even think she was in season 2. The whole thing that no one can figure out why she's so turned on to him. That's really funny, and I like it that he actually does well in the tournament. He's actually getting better.
Yeah, I like that.
He's one of those guys that like realistically is slowly getting better. He's not just amazing. You know,
it's believable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Dimitri too. He's a dork, but he's a big dude. He's growing, and he's got some skills.
He's getting some skills.
He's actually a great like underdog of the cast, right, in terms of the fighters. Because I mean, he was able to hold his own against Robbie. Sure, he still lost like big, but at the same time, like he would have never came close if you looked at it from like say the beginning of the show, like total 180.
Well, and he got that little boost of confidence where he loses to Robbie and he goes back to the side and he's like, yeah, he's really good. And Daniel says, so are you. And it's like, he is. He's getting there. You know, it's just like Robbie's like a freak of nature at this point on the show, you know? And that's why I love so much that Hawk kicked the shit out of him, you know?
Right. Oh, yeah.
Well, he didn't kick the shit out of him, but he beat him fair and square.
And you've seen like a lot of the characters grow too. Like the two smallest kids from like the first season, the white kid with the glasses and the Asian kid that were like
Bert. Yeah, Bert.
Like 1 foot tall. Now they're still like 3 feet tall, but they're still
I love those guys though, because they represent that other weight class, you know, and then when the tournament changes and they're like, okay, well now it's just guys against guys, girls against girls, no weight classes. You see Bert up against this big fucker, you know, like he just like kicks him and he just like flies back like 5 feet. I like it that Daniel tries to go and reconcile with Johnny and he brings the Coors Banquet. That was nice. Like, even though it didn't work out, but it was nice foreshadowing. They're both going, no, don't apologize. That shows weakness. And then the final episode, they both apologize like men, you know?
Yeah. Oh, and that's great too, because I think that's one of those things where it's like I get that these guys maybe will never ever be like actual besties or best friends, but
clear they're not. Yeah.
But I'd like to see the fact that we slowly see them hopefully grow at least towards some goal that's close to that, right? Because you know you can only have the same kind of bickering and miscommunication, misunderstanding for so long. It's like at some point I would love to see like these two guys take that more mature route, even if it takes a while to get there. Maybe there's still some more bumps in the next season, but I like that finally towards the end they keep building it. Because like, I mean, if it's one thing I hate is Daniel's constant self-righteous, like stuck on Miyagi, stuck on lack of self-awareness. Like
it's so insufferable at this point.
It's insufferable. He's still one of my least favorite characters. And I think part of that drops on Sam too, because with Sam, it's like, you know, she's the bratty little princess. And
Sam is still the worst.
She started to get a little bit better at the end, though. At least in the last episode, I started to like her.
Okay, you're right.
She was still being petulant to a point.
No, you're right. She's falling into more in Johnny's camp, so I like her a little bit more. But I think it's more it's not Mary Mauser as an actress. I think
definitely not her.
No, she can handle her lines well, but she's admitted on several podcasts that she can't fight, and it's evident. And the fact that they make her like the Hawk, dude, I don't know about you guys, but the Hawk Robbie fight was the biggest, best choreographed fight that we've seen. Well, maybe not the best choreographed. It was the biggest fight with the biggest stakes, with the loudest sound design and music and crowd. It was such a great long fight. And then you're like, oh, now we have the girls match. And you're like, okay, like, and the girls match, and it's not because they're girls, it's just because Mary Mauser can't fight. And it's clear. So the fight wasn't that exciting because from what I've understood, Tanner and Jacob, the guys that play Robbie and Hawk, are very good fighters. They've learned as the show's gone on, and it shows in the fight.
Yeah. I think they both also have practiced like actual karate too.
That's what I mean. They've really
actually athletic and everything, so it shows, right? You definitely see the difference.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of people laugh at like when Robbie's doing flips and stuff. That's really Tanner. He's a trained dancer.
Yeah.
So he's doing all those flips, and people are like, "Oh, that looks so dumb." And it's like it is kind of cheesy, but that's actually the guy like doing it. Yeah. There was one like flip kick that I'm like, dude, these kids would not be doing that. Like Daniel and Johnny can't do that shit. Like, who taught you that?
I wanted to bring that up, but like, because I was thinking about that and then comparing it to the actual original movie,
where they're just like, yeah, it's like one punch, one kick. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, there were some scenes in the movie where I think the fight scenes far outshined what we see in the show. But they're kids. I mean, well, I guess they were too back then. But especially with what Tori and what's her face?
Sam.
Tori and Sam. Yeah, it just looked like a choreographed thing. Like they were just practicing, is what it looked like.
Like more of a dance than a fight.
Yeah, the finished cut looked like it was just it was a practice scene or something.
Yeah, it didn't have that oomph that like Hawk and Robbie had. Like it didn't. And I'll give it to both of these fights. I thought both of the other opponents were going to win.
Yeah.
I love it. Love it. So the best thing I can say about this season is that they gave Hawk the win because he deserves the win. And also the fact that they didn't let Sam win, they let Tori win. I love that too. You know, because the show's called Cobra Kai, you know, and like you're still always kind of rooting for the kids on either, except for Kyler. He's the only one that you want to just die.
And he got his 0 and 3, so it was perfect.
He's the biggest piece of shit that's ever lived.
Golly, I want to shit in his mouth.
Yeah. What I liked about the final 2 fights, though, is I like how they paced it, where like the points went back and forth, you know, in a well, like, and it added tension to the fight, right? Because I like how when the boys went to overtime, like Hawk was actually about to score.
Yeah.
Right. So then they put that in sudden death, and then it's anybody's game. Or how when we later learned like Terry cheated with the ref, like Sam technically would have got her 3 points and won if it wasn't for the out of bounds false fake call out.
Oh, there was if you go back and rewatch, there's a bunch of scenes where Cobra Kai, I think even Devin Lee at one point lands a kick on Tori, but they say blocked, so they don't count it. So when you add up all that stuff, and then you see that the ref was unfairly calling the matches, you're like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Because a lot of people are like, well, Robbie actually won against Hawk because he hesitated and he didn't punch. But Hawk had already landed a kick that should have been a kick, but they said out of bounds.
Yep.
So he should have won in the first place. So kind of evens itself out.
Yeah, you were right. The kick plus the fact that the buzzer stopped right as he was going to land that other strike.
Yeah.
I felt this one was a little bit. I still believe it was a little bit lackluster compared to previous seasons, but we got Terry Silver back, which was fucking awesome, man. I was jerking off all over myself. Yeah, I mean, the rest of it was just meh. It's a show. I mean, I love the show. Love it. But God, how would I say this? Season 4 was not my least favorite. I don't think. No, it's definitely not, because we got Silver back, and that was awesome. I'm trying to think. I think it wasn't my favorite. Wasn't my least favorite. I loved that we had some good character arcs throughout this story with some characters that I didn't even like. So that was a pleasant surprise, and I enjoyed that a lot. I would rank this one somewhere in the middle for me. I'd give it, it's somewhere in that 50 percentile for me.
I think for me personally, it might be my favorite season so far. I mean, it's barely beating like 3 and 1. I have them, and then 2 is of course on the bottom.
No, wait, which one's on your bottom for you?
Like 4, 3 and 1, 2.
1 is my favorite. 3 and 4 are kind of a toss-up, but 2 is I think most people don't like 2 that much.
Well, it's not that I don't like it, but if I have to rank them, it's...
If you have to.
I really think the John Kreese stuff holds 2 back. It's kind of annoying, and then it goes nowhere, and it's kind of like a lie. Like everything you learn about him, you're like, the show's trying to make you feel something for him, but then you're like, oh, he's just full of shit.
But then what about Kreese's arc? He has an arc in this season too, though.
Well, that's the thing. I like him. Well, let's get into that now. Like, where do we want season 5 to go? Because Kreese turns into, not really a softie, but he's exposed to how much Johnny means to him, I guess. I mean,
well, he's remembering what happened after the first tournament in '85.
Yeah.
He grabbed Johnny, Mr. Miyagi came and, fucked him up and all that, or, put him in his place.
Yeah.
But he had that arc with Tori on the mat, and he says, you do what you want to do. You fight how you want to fight. That's not like Kreese.
I think they were trying to plant the seeds where if they are going to give him even like a minor redemption, maybe coming, say, next season, I think this season we started to see a little bit of that. And maybe that's what's going to, they're working towards next season. Yeah. I mean, now the man's in jail, right? So maybe that's also going to give him more time to reflect on the seeds that were planted.
Right. Yeah, sure.
I think if we're going into season 5, where do we think the show's going to go? I think they probably have maybe 2 great seasons left to explore everything from the films. After that, they have to kind of continue to grow with the new foundations and stuff like that they've created. Right. They can still bring. My thing is, okay, I think season 5, Terry Silver is going to reign over the valley, bring in Mike Barnes to run some of the dojos, and keep Daniel in check through fear. I think it's gonna fuck with Daniel when he sees Mike Barnes again.
Totally.
I think Daniel and Chosen will most likely be training together in the shadows in some sort of like quiet way, learning things. I think it's going to be less of him training students and more of Chosen training Daniel on new things. And then I think that Johnny and Miguel are going to be completely out of the picture with their own story and all the stuff that's at play in Mexico. I don't think we're going to get any more of Daniel and Johnny team up. We've already done that, and we saw what happened with that. So, like,
what I'm hoping with Johnny's future arc is he finally becomes like maybe the mentor and dad he wants to be, but to both boys. And maybe in the end they become like a family. You know, if he stays with the mom, right? These two could end up being stepbrothers.
I would do whatever it took to stay with Carmen.
Oh, dude.
Whatever it took. You want more kids? Let's do it. You want take the kids down the street? Sure, we'll take them too. As long as we end up in the same bed together. And
Carmen is super hot, man.
I'm also going to be curious to see how they continue Tori's story because she did overhear Silver and the rest.
Oh, dude, yeah.
So that might be a big change for her too.
Right.
Maybe we see her flipping sides. Also.
Or Silver goes, hey, I'm sorry that you overheard that, but how about I take care of all your mom's medical bills, and you and Mike Barnes are like now my two main pupil. I could see that too. I could see us thinking Tori's going to get better, but if she does, then who's left bad as students? Kyler, he's a piece of shit.
My dad's gonna shit in my mouth.
But as far as season 5 goes, dude, I'm really excited. Like I said, I've got a gigantic heart on waiting for season 5 now because I think it's going to be better than season 4.
I hope that we don't see too much less of Johnny. I'm sure we're going to see him doing lots of offending lots of Mexican people probably at some point. I think he's going to be doing that. Like the
line where he's like, we call them plantains. Here we call them bananas.
Yeah. Can I have the Paulo tacos?
Paulo.
Perfect world for me, 7 seasons. Wrap up this Miguel daddy bullshit in season 6. Make the dojos like maybe at the end, the Miyagi like Chosen thing emerges. I don't know. I don't know. I don't really know where you go because I don't even know if I want Johnny and Daniel to team back up. I almost think it's more fun.
Yeah, they don't
have to hate each other, but like them working together, it doesn't make sense unless they completely 180 Daniel, who is such a douchebag who's so set in his ways. It's like, I don't know.
I want to keep them like 48 hours, dude. Like Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy. They can work together, but they still don't like each other.
What a great analogy, dude. Like that's the best buddy cop movie ever because by the end they still don't like each other. They just had to do this one thing.
They just tolerate each other and they get shit done. It's like, okay, cool.
Cheers,
drink
guys.
it up.
Cheers, guys.
Previously on Cinema Gulp.
Welcome to the Valley. My predictions are what I thought season 5 may be.
He's the biggest winner to come out of season 4.
It's just getting bigger. He's in jail. Daniel's closing shop. Johnny is off chasing Mexico. Chosen is in town. And Silver's on a rampage. I think Johnny and Chosen are not initially going to understand each other. If Mike Barnes is back as a Silver minion, I can't wait to see Danny Boy face on the scenes, but eventually will become... Daniel and Johnny seem to put the bullshit in past other movies. It might be really good for me, but hey.
Binge drinking Cobra Kai season 5.
What the? 5 seasons, Mark. 5 seasons. And though I could rank them in order from best to least best, I haven't disliked a single season. What do you think of season 5?
So overall, this is definitely one of my newer favorite seasons, right? Right up there with like 1 and tied with 4, right? And I love that they up the ante, right? Up the stakes. You had a lot more action, a lot more brutal action. Right. I mean, that was definitely a surprise. Lots of humor was still on point. Right. I mean, you can't go wrong with a lot of these characters that we've fallen in love with for the past, 4 seasons. And I love the direction they took everything. Everything felt very organic in that regards. One of the things that I loved is there were so many plants and payoffs everywhere.
either within an episode or within an episode that paid off like in a different episode. Just all over the place. Excellent writing.
I'm on such a high on the show that I could say this is my favorite season, but I could also say another one was. This one just had these elevated stakes for me that there was times where it felt like a buddy action comedy. Still no wokeness.
Get woke, go broke.
All that is channeling through this filter of Johnny. It go from the very first scene in the very first episode this season. He lets out a whole bunch of shit that you're like, okay, we're still doing this. You know,
I mean, it's Johnny, right? When you stay true to the character, you stay true to the character, right? I'm sure the writers know that. William Zabka plays him perfectly, knows it.
Yeah.
You know, Johnny is just like one of those based individuals. He is who he is. He's unapologetic about it. And you just love watching what this guy gets himself into.
So many of the actors stepped up their game this year. I thought Zolo, Blue Beetle, we'll call him Blue Beetle. He was just great. He's always good, but he showed some extra range. For 3 seasons in a row, me and Devin were just like, I hate Robbie Keane.
A kid from Airborne.
Don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Don't care.
I hate Robbie Keane. He's the
I fucking hate that kid. I hate him.
He's probably like one of the more unlikable characters.
But
at the same time,
he's a
feel
good
like
guy. And for the last 2 seasons, he's just gotten better and better as a character.
Yeah, this was his best season yet so far, you know, and I love the way they took it. Because, I mean, sometimes characters can be naturally unlikable, but I love the fact that they maybe they even recognize that and what the audience thought. And it's like, well, what better way to take a character that started from here and get them to here?
It was never the actor. It was never Tanner or whatever. Tori, I in my little predictions video I did right before this, I predicted that she was going to have some of those moments that's just tearing her soul out. And they didn't go as far with it as they could have as far as the torment she's going through, but they did a good job. And Peyton List is so good. Like you never know what direction she's coming at, you know?
Yeah. As far as the younger group of students, she's one of my like top favorites. Like her character has always been great. And you can tell, and I love just the conflict that's just always there, right? Because again, she's one of those characters, like just like Robbie. You know, deep down, she is a good person. It's just the situations that she always finds herself in, you know, hammer her home, and just, you know, sometimes she just has to be the way that she is to survive.
Yeah, and it makes sense that the two of them would kind of end up together because they had just terrible. I don't know if they don't really talk about if she ever got into a life of crime or petty theft or anything, but she always had to scrape and grind because she's got this sick mother, which we got a glimpse of the hospital bed this season. That's it. This season was kind of like 2 seasons. The first 5 were very different from the second 5, and I loved that. I loved that. You know, that you're led to believe at the end of season 4 that it's going to be this big Mexico adventure, and it kind of is, but it's also very short-lived because you have a short series. What do you think of that whole couple of episodes?
I mean, I love what came together, right? Because you had a lot of emotion, you had a lot of laughs, and I totally had to get this. I totally have to get this out there on video, because as soon as we saw Miguel's dad, the first thing that popped into my mind, I'm like, "Hey, they cast the Giga Chad meme guy." You know, there was tension, there was humor, there was action, there was drama, there was emotion. Like that all flowed very nicely between all the characters involved there. And and I like that they kept it short and sweet so that we could get back to the main area, to the main cast. But, you know, we had that journey with Miguel where, you know, he really felt he needed to see his dad. He thought his mom was lying to him. Turns out she was 100% telling the truth. And, you know, like that scene that showed him like in tears when he found out the truth and he was so devastated. Just to me, it brought me back to the same scene where, you know, he overheard Johnny, you know, say, "I love you, Robbie," and just the emotions there. I'm like, yeah, Zolo does a great job just showing Miguel's, you know, emotions and everything that the character goes through.
So I want to get into spoilers because we both really like the show. Go watch the show on Netflix. It's streaming now. It's 10 episodes. Some of these episodes are longer than previous seasons, which is awesome and always welcome. But we got to get into spoilers because I want to talk about the fact that, and spoilers, 3, 2, 1, the fact that Robbie never told his dad the truth, and he just found out he tested the waters. He found out what kind of a guy he was, and he just kind of he just walked out, and he's like, okay, I know, but I'm not going to tell this guy, especially after getting to know him. You can tell like maybe that day Miguel was going to be like, hey, I'm your son. But then he saw how he acted the rest of the day, and he's like, oh, no. He's like, this guy. And that scene you're talking about got really intense, where you don't know what his dad was going to do. When they got into the liquor store, and he's like, I got to lay low, and he's taking the money. You're like, is he going to let this kid go? Like, because he's told him a bunch of stuff. But you know you're going to like Robbie right off the bat this season when he does the pepper contest. You're like, okay, they're giving him some shit to do where he's not just moping or whining over a girl or mad at somebody. He's having a fun scene, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the great thing about that trip is early enough, he finds out the real reason of the trip, and he's upset, understandably so. But I love the fact that he kind of just gets over it because, like, I'm here for my dad. And even if I don't like Miguel, this is the right thing to do. And I love that, again, back to some of the plants and payoffs. I love Johnny buying all that random stuff. Sure enough, you have this Mexican candy, and then the Mexican candy gets used to be substituted for the pepper to trick the other guy to win back their band that got towed.
Yeah. I just love that scene where he gives them the little, he's like, Mexican soda. He's like, it's just soda, Dad.
Yeah,
but then he gives them the little sombrero bobblehead.
Yeah.
He's like,
I got you a little something to say welcome to Mexico. And don't tell me it's offensive. We bought it in Mexico. It's their idea.
That right there is like, that's like talking to the audience going, don't get offended by this thing. I'm in Mexico and I bought it here. Shut the fuck up.
Exactly.
Back home, those first 2 episodes during that, where they implant Chosen in as sort of like an undercover sensei, but he just gets made too easy to me. It was a little, I don't know. I was like, really?
Maybe they had to do that for the sake of pacing, right? But but at least it was still believable, right? Because Silver, he's well traveled. He's obviously been to probably all the parts of Asia, and I love the fact that they use like Kyoto whiskey as what kind of made him lose his subterfuge, right? Where they do the toast, and something as simple as a toast, because he sat there and completely forgot. Because I think from the start, he's trying to hide that he's not from Okinawa, right?
Okinawa,
because that would be a dead giveaway of
his
connection with Daniel. So when he says kari, which is an Okinawan toast, instead of the other one, he got made.
Instead of kampai, yeah.
Yeah, instead of kampai, he got made. Just from one word.
There's a lot of standouts this year, but he's my favorite by far.
He's my MVP of the season also.
He's totally the MVP. They didn't make him into Thor, where he's a complete buffoon. He's still a complete badass, but they also made him fish out of water, which you knew they would do.
Yeah.
And they did it so good.
Yeah, and to reveal some personality behind him, right? He's not one-dimensional at all. And then once you get him like comfortable, he can show that he's got some fun in him. He's got some humor. Just like any normal person would be.
Yeah, and they really play off that life debt that he feels he owes Daniel. Like every time someone touches Daniel, he like tries to beat the shit out of him.
You get the feeling, especially in the end, when it's revealed that he has those feelings for Kumiko. And he never wanted to pursue her because he knew that she and Daniel had something special, and he never wanted to even like touch on that.
Yeah.
But then when Daniel finally gives him the blessing, the guy goes for it, so kudos to him.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering about that, even when we saw them in season 3, if there had been something going on. And it's kind of cute that he's like, I know how important she is to you. Daniel should have been like, dude, we dated for one summer 35 years ago. You're fine. Quiet. Two, like really, I guess one is definitely a cameo. One is a bit more than a cameo, both from Karate Kid 3, because we're digging deep here now, folks. Pretty soon we're going to have to start digging into the next Karate Kid, Hilary Swank one. But this one, we kind of all thought, 90% sure we were getting Mike Barnes back. And we got him for 2 episodes, and he was fucking awesome. And they did exactly what I was hoping they would do with him, too. Like, again, they write these people to where you're like, how did these people on this show, 30-something years removed from a subpar Part 3 movie in the Karate Kid franchise that was tiring at the time, how was this guy always this interesting and this good? No, he wasn't. Mike Barnes was a one-dimensional cardboard cutout.
Like a psychopath, basically.
Just a psychopath. All he did was just attack dog. And in this movie, he's got like this business, and he loves working with his hands.
Because it allows like even supportive characters to have growth, even if it's off screen, right? 30-some years later, and it was a very believable arc in this case too, where the guy explained like he met this guy who was then going to be like his future wife's, his future father-in-law, showed him what to do with his hands besides just hitting people.
and it was very natural to me, right? And then he inherits the furniture store, and that's now his life, right? He's the business owner.
I love how he's in episode 3. You see he can still kick ass, like goes up against Cho. There's so many. This is like the Marvel Cinematic Universe this season, the culmination of like every bad guy, or quote unquote Daniel bully, all coming together. To me, it was more exciting than seeing like Tony Stark and Thor on camera. It was like seeing Chosen fighting Mike Barnes, fighting Johnny Lawrence, fighting Daniel. It was crazy.
That's what I'm talking about.
The other one that is definitely just a cameo, because we do get Mike Barnes in the finale, but Robin Lively as Jessica returns from Karate Kid 3.
Yep.
And what was kind of a pointless character in that movie, because she never became a love interest. She was just kind of there. But it was really weird. When I saw her pop up, I'm like, oh, did they just give Robin Lively a part, or is she playing Jessica? And they're like, no, this is Jessica. She's the cousin of Amanda. She introduced the two, and you're like, obviously they didn't have that plan from the get-go. Yeah. But it just, again, it makes so much sense, because her and Daniel never had a romantic relationship. Mm-hmm. She moved away, and then she naturally is gonna have a cousin who moves to California. Hey, I know this great guy out there. Like,
yeah, I did. Here's something I would love to add, and kudos to the writing team for this. A lot of other modern writers would have done the, I don't want to say lazy, but less skillful way of that being like some kind of like exposition dump via dialogue, right? I love how this show gives audience credit to put 2 and 2 together, that you're like, oh, they're cousins, which means this is possibly how Daniel and Amanda actually met, and then the rest is history, without beating you over the head with it. The audience is smart enough to figure it out.
Yeah, there's one line where she's like, but before you moved out to LA and I hooked you up with Daniel, there was this Terry Silver thing, and she's like, why didn't you ever tell me about Terry Silver? She's like, well, why would I? Like, he was gone for 10 years before you met. Like, it didn't make sense to do so. And then they get in a little fight, which is kind of fun.
The fight is also with the chick who cheated on the boyfriend of Jessica from the Karate Kid 3 movie.
I don't even remember. So
Elizabeth Ann Rooney.
Until you texted that, I'd forgotten that she had told Daniel. She was crying in the scene, right, where she told Daniel that he cheated on. That is crazy.
And that was the chick who then started to antagonize them. But I love how that serves like 3 different purposes, right? We get 1, you find out about that chick who is the cheater. 2, it helps Amanda to understand why Daniel's been acting the way she was, because she was justifiably mad at him, and I don't blame her for doing what she did, right? Where she's like, I need a break from you, right? But this whole thing helps her understand. And then 3, we get the awesome nickname that she got as Babe Ruthless. All that in one scene from this random ass character that they built off of a name that has a tie into the 3rd movie.
It's just people digging deep and having fun with stuff and having it make sense instead of just doing it for the sake of doing it. And I did not think we'd ever see Robin Lively on the show, just because, again, her character wasn't really romantic with him. Now that I think about it, even though they have her far removed in Ohio, the fact that she got kicked in the stomach by Mike Barnes. I'd forgotten all that stuff. Like, she went through a lot of shit with the Terry Silver situation, so it made sense that she'd be the one to explain to Amanda, like, look, yeah, your husband's a hothead, but this dude is bad. Like, Terry Silver last year, obviously, he was so complex, because when we meet him, he's changed. At least you think he's changed.
You think, yeah.
Well, but he also he thinks he's changed, And it took, like, John Kreese and Cobra Kai to really turn him back into the psychopath. But in this season, he's your typical, like, late 80s to mid 90s cigar chewing villain. And it's fantastic. This season, you get that whole thing about the stuff he learned, the new kind of shit he learned, and the ruthlessness of the people that teach it. I mean, you get to meet some of those people that weren't his trainers, but people he grew up with and stuff. But he was scary this season for sure. Like, I mean, him going up against Chosen and stuff like that was exactly what everybody wanted to see. And we got to see it. And it was great because it almost insinuates that Chosen would have kicked the shit out of him, but Chosen was drunk as shit when they finally fought.
Yeah, drunk, and then there was a distraction that caused him to take that last hit.
Yeah, because he did best him, with size. Dude, this season, folks, This is Cobra Kai. It started out as like Johnny Lawrence teaching a little shit in a karate. And this season had two guys, one fighting with a samurai sword, one fighting with sais in a big mansion, and it just never came off as hokey to me.
Nope.
Like it just didn't. Like I could see someone going, "Oh, the show is like jump the shark. It's gone way off the rails." The delivery of it, it just hasn't. It just hasn't.
Yeah, not really, because even those weapons were plants and payoffs themselves, right? That same sword the Silver used was the one where that caught Chosen's eye, and he showed him the sword and told him about the history of it. And the sais Chosen was just carrying around everywhere. He even had them at the club. They scanned him, and it's like, "What you got there?" He lifts his
He just has them in his pockets. Yeah, like everything about how Cobra Kai was blowing up on every street corner, and that they would go corporate and have their own protein bars. It all makes perfect sense. It's a perfect progression for how all that would have played out. I'm happy to report one of the most played out, boring, dragging grievances of the show was Robbie and Miguel. Thank God for now that's over, because it was just insufferable after a while. Like they hated each other since the very first second that they saw each other 5 years ago or whatever. So it's nice that and they had a nice fight. It was another little payoff from the season 2 finale. I don't know. I thought it was lovely the way they kind of talked it out at the end.
Did we just become best friends? Yep.
Yeah, they did. And then I love how it took like three attempts from Johnny, and then the idea actually coming from Daniel about being a classic Johnny, to just have the boys duke it out. And like, I don't know about you. Actually, I'm sure you've seen this before yourself in real life, Ben, where sometimes we as guys, you take your enemy or your frenemy, and sometimes you just have to like literally duke it out. You get it out of your system, and it works. Guys then suddenly, forgive everything, they drop it and say, "Hey, we cool now? We cool." I think some of that came from the growth from season 4, because I think that all spilled over.
It has a lot to do with Kenny as well, like that guilt laying on him. He doesn't want to start any more shit with anybody else. Kenny's a real piece of shit this season. I gotta say, he's kind of the biggest bully like ever on the show. Like who's been Kyler is, but Kyler's a pussy who gets beat up all the time.
Yeah.
So.
But I mean, not only a piece of shit, there was like, they actually dunked Anthony's head into a bowl full of something.
Oh my God.
Like I saw a glimpse of the water, and I was like, no.
Obviously getting manipulated by Silver. I mean, they give you a couple of scenes where it's like, you're the leader here now, Because Silver's like, shit, aside from Tori, this dojo sucks. Because Kyler's a goof. He's an idiot. He's not that good of a fighter. Thinks he is, but another one of the really cool things was the Devin Lee story, where like I remember people on Twitter really upset when the first trailer came out and they saw her in a Cobra Kai gi, and they're like, "What? Why did Devin Lee turn to Cobra Kai?" And like when you finally watch the show, you're like, "Well,
it makes sense.
Why wouldn't she?" Like,
yeah,
Johnny recruits her to be the number one female fighter in the Valley, and then right after their first tournament, he leaves everybody high and dry, and she has nowhere to go. But now she's good, so I think she goes with this other hippie dojo.
She joined this other dojo. You could tell she was not happy with it, or at least by the methods.
Bored,
and the sensei was on the softer side. And then same day, here comes Silver buying it up, right? Even if she went to a different dojo, she would eventually run out of dojos to go to, because Silver was just absorbing all of them.
She was very hesitant too. Like, she took her time. She wasn't buying the bullshit right away. She wanted to get a sense. But in the end, like, there's that scene where Johnny like goes there with Chosen to confront Silver, and he sees Devin, and this is the only time he acknowledges her presence and the fact that she has turned to Cobra Kai. He goes, "Devin, that's one of my students. I got to go get her." And Chosen's like, "Well, we're not here for that." But there was never, and I know she's more of a minor character, but there was never a scene where she's like, "Hey, you left me high and dry, so I became one of these people." I mean, by the end of the season, she flips again, so it's like fine. But I kind of liked her little character arc this season, because it was somebody totally left high and dry from Eagle Fang, who wasn't maybe invited to Miyagi-Do because they were going out of business at the end, so she had to go somewhere.
I mean, I don't think Daniel ever had any interactions with her either, right? So like you said, Johnny took off immediately to go after Miguel, so she was just kind of left going like, what? You know, what do I do now?
And Tori was the only one that beat her in the tournament, so she's like, you know what, this is the person I want to follow because So yeah, that was a nice story. She wasn't as funny as she was in the season before because they gave her a more serious role.
Yeah, it was more serious.
I was kind of fearful for Tori pretty much this whole season. Like I just didn't know, especially when they bring in what's her name, Master whatever, the badass
Kim Dae-eun. It's Kim Lee-dun.
Yeah, she was scary. She just didn't give a fuck about beating up kids. Like that's all she did, pretty much.
Yeah, she was awesome as far as the antagonist role, right? Like right up there with Silver and
she belonged in like Kill Bill. She kind of felt like one of those people. Silver is watching Tori. He knows that she's talking to John. I mean, I guess he never did, but they kind of kept you on pins and needles, wondering if he knows.
They could tell she was being distracted. Her heart didn't seem in it as it was previously, so they knew something was up, but they didn't know what exactly.
Yeah, and then when they did the knuckle thing where they made her punch, what was
Stone.
it like?
It was Stone.
Stone. That was brutal to watch. Like that's the scene where she kind of unleashes and she's just like, "Fuck you guys! Like my loyalty. I broke up with my boyfriend for this shit or whatever." But yeah, that would have shattered her bones. What do you think about the pregnancy storyline?
Well, I have to pat myself on the back because I think that was one of my predictions that I wanted, right? Miguel and Robbie becoming brothers, because
Oh yeah, yeah.
But no, I thought it was cool because it's it's going to be a new chapter in Johnny's life, and of course, again, the Johnny comedy with him googling or goggling what to do when the baby's coming, the way he handled trying to change his apartment, and then when he showed the box of condoms that he used.
Yeah.
Tiger Love. No, actually, it said Tiger Glove on the top, but then Tiger Love in the corner. I mean, I don't know where the hell you found.
Where do you even buy? Yeah, that's something you buy overseas. Yeah.
I mean, even the montage in Carmen's dream was hilarious, right? When she was picturing their future life together.
They had to go Top Gun. They had to do some Top Gun. Yeah.
I mean, but it's funny too because you can see Johnny actually having wearing off a little bit on her too, because where she even answered like, "Oh, well, you could even play this kind of music." And she's like, "Yeah, Metallica," and
Oh, and she says
she's on board.
She gives her first and only, I believe, F-bomb this season, even though it was part of the dream. When the sink shoots up, there was a lot more F-bombs this season, and not just in English, a lot in the Spanish scenes too.
Yep.
Usually they give you one or two a season. There was almost an F-bomb in every episode of the show. There was lots of F-bombs, and it, to me, that only makes the show better. I like Sam a little bit more as well. I think Sam is kind of sick of the bullshit. She's getting better like Robbie, where she wants to be better as a person and not wrapped up in a relationship. I think those storylines are going to come to a close as far as like being problems, and now they'll just be couples. At least I hope so. We don't need any more of the drama. And Hawk, not a ton to do this year. I was a little surprised. One of my predictions was like he's gonna be a bigger part of the fight because he's the champion. He's a bigger player. He still doesn't really get the respect he deserves. Like they're like, well, I guess Hawk won, so he should be the one that fights. And they kind of had him go out like a little bitch, but I get why. That it was this really sleazy, evil mood that Silver teaches Kenny. And it hurts Robbie as well, who's just like a fucking brick wall. I guess it made sense, but I was a little disappointed that Hawk didn't get a little bit more to do. He had some moments, but I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I think maybe that was some of the, if you want to even call it like the weaker parts of the season, right? But not by much. But I feel like maybe they didn't quite have the direction nailed down for him, but they still needed him to be there. I mean, it made sense that they picked him for like the main fight for the, what do they call it? The Sekai Taikai, qualifier, because he was the champ. And I do love the scene that showed the maturity of the boys having like talked it out beforehand. So when Johnny comes to give them the talk, they're like, "Oh yeah, Dad, we've already talked about it. It's going to be Eli." But I agree with you. Sam was better. I still feel like she's like the weakest character of them all for me. But I like the fact that they are improving her, and I hope they continue to improve her. And like you said too, like I'm just tired of the relationship stuff. So I think now maybe with her finally being back with Miguel, it'll just stay that way, so we can just kind of see like just fun couple stuff instead of this will they won't they stuff.
If this new chapter goes the way I think you and I think, all those people are going to need to be together. Because if this other tournament thing brings in all these new, like, really skilled people to fight, then they're going to need to know what the fuck they're doing. I did not like Kreese in this season at all. The second time I rewatched the whole season yesterday, I ended up fast forwarding through all of his scenes because I just didn't care.
I actually didn't mind it because I found some parts of it interesting. I thought the way they shot the scene where he was talking with the lady, you know, the local psychiatrist for the detention area, and you were seeing like all these juxtapositions of all these people in his life and the thoughts that they had, and he was going to going through and actually for once opening up about what he felt with their experiences and connections with them. I thought that was cool.
Here's the thing. When we're talking about the final episode, so we have a drunk Chosen, a drunk Mike Barnes, and a drunk Johnny Lawrence all going to beat the shit out of Terry.
Everybody's drunk, right?
All going to Terry Silver's house to beat the shit out of him. But even though Terry Silver doesn't know they're coming, he's always one step ahead of them at least. And all his fucking crazy senseis are there. And those people apparently will murder. Like, they don't care. They'll just murder you because they're trying to kill people. There's a great fight with Chosen and Silver. There's basically Johnny just getting the shit kicked out of him for like 20 minutes in the finale.
Yeah, that part I felt, I wish they would have either had Mike been in the mix more.
Me too,
Or maybe that part could have been shortened because, I mean, that was a huge ass whooping.
You would have brain damage, dude.
Yeah, like either you want to show that Johnny Lawrence is a hell of a tank, or like this was just, whew, nobody could survive that. But they did have the classic like second win moment when, you know, again another one of those plants and payoffs. The baby ultrasonic little photo fell out of his coat and he saw it, and it just gave him just that second win to just get up and start just fighting back like a fucking beast.
Zabka does some fucking moves in that scene though, dude. Like some crazy moves. I really liked that they used the young cast to kind of like do this heist thing where they're trying to download some stuff. That worked as far as like why the two groups of kids would start fighting again. You know, like it made sense. And there's some good moves. Again, all those kids are getting so much better at karate. They all have stunt doubles, of course. But a couple of them are doing a lot of their own shit, and it's pretty good. And there's some little moments in there. You know, you have Devin Lee turning back and fighting with Tori against the crazy chick.
And then there's a lot of stuff that played out well with the kids, right? Because a lot of that stuff has to do with modern stuff that they'd be used to, right? The idea that they got, the fact that Eli and Dimitri would know to go hack a server because they are total nerds when it comes to that kind of stuff. The fact that the kids from Cobra Kai dojo found out because we have a traitor in the mix, right?
Oh my God, penis breath.
Penis breath.
That was like, I was like, you know what? I'm glad they had the balls to turn somebody. And it's like, he's like, who cares about him? So it's fine, you know?
And then you, of course, got that fight. Of course, another wonderful plant and payoff from Chosen's lesson with the protect the egg. Anthony's, you know, holding that iPad, the last one holding the iPad, trying to get the video to upload to show everyone what Silver's all about. You know, Tori, you know, fighting with the good guys now.
I really liked how part 3 came back into play, you know, the whole montage of how he is just using what he remembers on how exactly to beat Silver straight up. Not like dirty, but straight up. Daniel also being drunk, but all of them sobered up pretty fast when the story needed them to. That's fine. That happens all the time.
Nobody makes me bleed my own blood. Nobody.
But that was cool. I like that resolution, but there was so much violence in this season, and I just loved that. Like, it was such, we have to raise the stakes. We gave you little tournament matches, that's fine, but we have to raise the stakes, you know, and they really did. So
yeah, I mean, it's a karate show, right? You got to have karate.
Karate, but just like swords, and it was cool, man. It was cool.
Remember in the flashbacks we saw Kreese and Silver together training with their original master or the original practitioner of this style that they do back in Korea. And when they broke the vase, you saw that there was like the little daughter, the little girl there. She broke the vase, but Kreese, you know, took the blame for it. I think that was Kim, right? That's the granddaughter.
Probably, yeah.
So that ties her in because that was her grandfather originally teaching them. And I believe that she mentioned that in dialogue too. So she knows, because she even said like, hey, where's Kreese, right?
She was disappointed.
Yeah. I think those two will connect because we still have the Sekai Taikai tournament, right? There's no reason that the dojo cannot still enter both dojos technically could still enter the tournament, but this time it could be, I don't know who they find to fight for Cobra Kai, but Kreese and Kim, maybe they bring Kim's students from Korea.
I think it's going to be all new baddies, like you said. Her students which is why you need all of our heavy hitters on the same team.
Yeah. So it's going to be these all new karate practitioners coming in from Korea or elsewhere. So you have Kreese and Kim teamed up. Maybe we get a glance of Chosen and Kumiko together, right? And a lot of people are asking from Julie from Karate Kid 4 cameo. Maybe she appears in season 6. Who knows? And then, of course, maybe depending if there's a time skip or not, maybe we get to see Johnny and Carmen's baby, right? Boy or girl, because that was also like touched upon.
So yeah, season 5 was fantastic. It did not disappoint. It was funny. It was entertaining. It had great action. The stakes got higher. A lot of the characters went where I wanted them to go. Some of them didn't get enough to do, but some seasons you get more than others.
When we have a cast this big, it is a really tough juggling act. So
it is.
To me, kudos to the writers for being able to do it very well consistently.
Yeah, just get Anthony out of the show because I just don't care. 2 seasons in, I don't care. A little bit better this season because he wasn't such a little peckerhead. Whatever the final season is, you'll see every motherfucker that's ever been in the show in like either a wedding or something like that.
Yeah.
A Johnny Carmen wedding with a big karate fight in the middle of it would be so great. That's my prediction, everyone, for the end of season 6. Whole season's leading up. Yeah, you have your tournaments and all that shit. Johnny Carmen, big wedding. Every cast member that's ever been on the movie or show is there. And then there's a huge karate fight. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching Binge Drinking Season 5 Cobra Kai. We got lots more binge drinking coming up. Keep your eyes out and leave some comments in the comment section below on what you thought of Cobra Kai and other binge drinking shows you might want to see myself and Mark do. Until then, thank you so much, Mark.
Thanks for having me, Ben.
We drink your cinema.
Drink it up.